You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. Loud, not me, bitch.
Okay, we live. Oh man, I got that damn echo on again. Got that echo on. I like when the music is extra loud. I'm trying to cause damage to your eardrum. I'm trying to like make y'all go partially deaf. My hope is that somebody is just tuning in and they put their headphones on and their eardrum bursts. That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, I'm trying to get y'all. I'm trying to get y'all. This feels like the relay. It's supposed to. That was kind of the point. I wanted to be able to bridge the gap between episodes of the relay to live streams and add some of that entertainment value. You know, that was actually what I was shooting for. That the live won't just be, shooting the shit, because anybody can shoot the shit, to be honest. It don't take a lot to shoot the shit. I wanted it to be a little bit closer to the experience that you get when you watch an episode. Not too much, because in the episode, doing an episode gives me more time to think about what I'm going to say and more time to do research, whereas shooting the shit is more about entertainment value, comedic purposes. It's more spontaneous, as well as for live Q&As, which are always fun. But y'all know. So, the whole Sunday, I noticed that the Benavidez fans was out in full force. In truth, the only reason I'm live right now is to trash them. I already recapped the fight, so I don't have to do that. Shout out to my man Napoli for the cash app, for the super chat. If Nazarena beats Mayerling for the WBA and gives Daniela Bermudez a shot next, is that a 50-50 fight, or who do you give the edge to? That's a very good question. I ain't even going to front. I'm going to say that I give Romero the edge over Rivas. Like I said in my video, Rivas doesn't really have a lot of luck with Argentinian fighters. She lost to Acuna. She lost to Bermudez. I think she is going to lose to Romero. But between Daniela and Nazarena, it is different, because I feel like Daniela is more volume than Nazarena. So she might fluster her. Like, I notice Nazarena likes to load up on her shots. And I feel while they're both pressure fighters, Daniela is more experienced with that style. So as strange as it might sound, I would give Daniela decent odds in that fight. I would give Daniela, especially now that she's fighting again and she's being busy, that by the time they do fight, if they do fight, she already shook off all the ring rust, and then it's just about who's better with that base style, Daniela or Nazarena. You have to remember that only one person ever stopped Daniela Bermudez, and that's Amanda Serrano. Everybody knows Amanda was up there at 126. She hit hard. Everybody knows it. But I don't know that Nazarena Romero packs the same punch. I know she doesn't have the same shot selection as Amanda. She's not as good a boxer as Amanda, not as experienced. So the fact that it took for Amanda Serrano to stop Daniela Bermudez, that says a lot, because that means that a lot of other people, they wouldn't have stopped her. Amanda did. So I would give Daniela decent odds in a Romero fight. Decent odds. Shout out to my man Liam Rockwell. Rematch room needs to bring back Gallos. I agree. I think Stevie Sparks was robbed. I don't understand what the logic behind that was. When I was watching that fight, it looked to me like he was banking more of the rounds. It looked to me like he was the busier fighter. Aside from the knockdown, before the judge's scorecard was read, I felt that he had it in the bag and they took it from him. I didn't like that. But it was. I think Gallos is a Mexican fighter, and they were in Mexico, so when in Rome, right? And all day today, Amanda stopped Daniela because she was pregnant at the time. No other reason. So you don't think that those two body shots that she got in there might have had something to do with that base? She got two body shots in there. Boop, boop. Stopped her. Shout out to my man Drewski, who was south of the border this weekend. South of the border, mirando con lo culo, con la sabrosura in Mexico. He says, PBC Flunky's mad that Canelo has made it clear he's on the zone. He wants a UK and UAE fight. There was a reason Skills Challenge CEO went to Guadalajara. Yeah, the Skills Challenge guy seems like a good guy. I like the guy. His name is Amir something, you know. He seems like a great guy. I like the guy. I want to say that Canelo staying on the zone seemed like a possibility to me because he's comfortable there. You know, he's comfortable. He's made it clear that he likes working with Matchroom. He likes Eddie Hearn. And that's why we've brought this up so much, that if Canelo were to tell David Benavidez, yo, yeah, we could fight, but it got to be on the zone, what is David going to do? And we know that David going to start with that bullshit. Going to start with that bullshit. The bullshit. The bullshit. Going to start with the bullshit about the sides of the street when, Brody, it shouldn't be about sides of the street. You not the B side. Golovkin was the B side. You the D side, bro. You ain't the B side like Drew say. David ain't the B side to Canelo. You the D side, bro. Golovkin was a B side. You know, that's a B side. That's a bona fide B side. You a D side, bro. So you got to play ball if you want to get down. Got to play ball. And you know, the next episode of the relay is already done for your viewing pleasure after this live is over. I'm actually going live right now because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to wrap this live up a little earlier than most. I'm gonna go touch my wife's butt. It's really soft. And then after that, I'll upload the next episode of the relay. I figure, you know, why work on the third episode when I could do a quick live, trash Benavidez's stupid fans, those casual idiots that don't know shit about boxing. I can trash them really quick, upload the episode, still have time to get down with the get down. So, you know, that's how I'm feeling. That's how it's rocking. And what it do, Halim? What it do, Ivo? I ain't gonna argue about semantics. What's going on, Ivo? What y'all talking about? Look like somebody arguing in the comments, bro. So selling out an arena and dropping Ryder was twice a flop. We have offering. Who's saying that, bro? Who's saying that? We could have y'all both come on and discuss it, bro. You know, I want to make this a more interactive experience for some of the people that are in the chat. I know that usually we have the same panelists, but if any of you guys want to have a discussion with each other live on the channel, I'll be happy to mediate it. I'm not going to cut nobody off, long as you behave yourself. No name calling, no childishness, because we're a classy fucking channel. We're very classy here. I'm a very classy guy. You know, I'm not with that childish, oh, I'm going to yell at you and you're going to yell at me. That's not how we rocking over here. Shout out to my man, George. Tank's next fight. Cruz 2, Broly 2, Tio or Haney? It's a very good question. Very good question. Yeah, CompuBox had Ryder landing in the single digits every round, except one where he landed 10 punches. Very dominant by Nello. Shout out to my man, Boxing Beats and Rounds. Everybody, Boxing Beats and Rounds. One of my favorite channels. If you are not already subscribed, subscribe to the Boxing, the Beats, and the Rhymes. The beats come with the rhymes. You know what I mean? They come with the rhymes. And, you know, I want to get Beats' reaction and Bass's reaction to the fight. The chat is not, the panel is not yet open to the chat. I only want to talk to Beats and Rhymes and Bass for a second before I let everybody else on. So here's a link for my good guys in the UK up in the wee hours of the morning, because it's late over there. For those that don't know, it's late over there. And let's listen to an old beat that I made. This was one of the few beats I was able to salvage before the old computer I was working on, the hard drive, died. I wasn't able to save most of the things that I made. Most of the project files got lost with the computer, but I was able to save this. Everybody, we got the bad guy. We got Bass Kid in the building.
Greetings and salutations.
So, you know, you've seen the fight. I want to get your take on the fight. Do you feel like people are being a little bit too dramatic? Do you feel like Canelo is in decline? What was your reaction to the fight?
Well, I mean, I always thought it was getting points. So I didn't have any adverse reaction to the fight. I knew Ryder was tough. I knew he was going to sit on Canelo's chest enough so he wouldn't be able to get too much of that clean work off. I wasn't expecting him to bust his nose from the second round. That was that was a bit of a crisis moment. But like I tweeted out, Ryder just showed he's more Mexican than Ryan Garcia is.
I agree with that. We have boxing beats and rounds in a building. Beats, your reaction to the fight?
I really like. It was a great exhibition of infighting from both. Yes, Canelo outpunched him. He was more accurate. You see what it is. Canelo's very clever, isn't it? Like, he's got that old school. Like, he knows where to hit you. You know what I mean? It's not that he's more powerful than a lot of people. He knows where to hit you.
It's the shot selection. I agree, and that's
selection, man. Like,
that's what I thought would be. That's what I thought would be a determining factor. Look, John is not a bitch, and it's just plain old American xenophobia at this point that is kind of brazen. That, what do you think, that every fighter from the UK takes a back seat to every American fighter? Look at that fight. John got hit more than Caleb Plant by and large, but he took them shots, and he didn't capitulate. He didn't quit. He never gave up in any round in that fight. Now, I'm not knocking Caleb, but don't that show you that, look, John is a tougher guy than Caleb Plant? For all this slick bullshit y'all talking about, think about it. Caleb is supposed to be a defensive specialist, but he got knocked out. John is not a defensive specialist. He's just got heart, grit, and cojones, and he didn't get knocked out. He took the punishment.
Yep. John, you know what I mean? He showed that Brit Bulldog when he needed it. He pulled it out, man. And like, I tell you what, if that fight hasn't ruined him, because like that nose looks in bad shape, if he can come back, I'm telling you, he can beat a lot of them guys they've been hyping up, saying Canelo don't want no smoke. He can beat a whole lot of them. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I'd love to see him fight Caleb.
Caleb won't fight him, even though it's like. Let me read the super chats because they're piling up. Shout out to Aaron S. Baker. The Soundbox is the best addition you've made to your live show in a minute. Definitely a fan. I appreciate you, Aaron. I appreciate the beer money. We all know beer is very important around here. That rhymed. And don't be surprised if I don't come out here one day with 16 to 32 bars talking shit about everything. Because, yes, I, like many kids in Harlem, wanted to be a rapper when I was a child. And I was very good at it, all right? I found out I like making beats more than rapping, but better still, don't be surprised if I come out here with 32 bars for your ass. Shout out to Drew. Drew says the Chilean women in Guadalajara were elite. Leo has been keeping them all to himself. Leo, that's very greedy of you, Leo. Very greedy. You're supposed to let us know that the Chilean chicks are hot. Drew also says, being there, I talked to plenty of Canelo fans admitting he's showing some age and slippage. I mean, I don't... See, this is the thing. I think that everybody in boxing rushes to extremes. I don't. It's not that I don't think Canelo is showing slippage. After 60-something fights, it's entirely possible that he's showing slippage. It's that was already kind of there. That was already kind of there with the leg issues and the hand issues, the wear and tear. That's what I see in terms of slippage, that when you've been fighting people for over 60 fights, your body's been through a lot. Your body's been through a lot of camps, a lot of, you've been hit, a lot of stuff like that. But as far as his ability to perform and the boxer that he is, I'm still very confident he beats David Benavidez. What say you, boxing beats and rhymes? Does Canelo beat David Benavidez?
Yes, it would be very acerbic, facetious, vitriotic with the condition. yes. Yeah, I think he beats him. Look, if David can get him, this would be a good time. Because, look, like you say, 60-odd fights. Been boxing from when, was it 15 or 16 he turned pro? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 15, bro, 15.
Yeah. There's got to be some mileage, man. Look at the resume, man. Look at the fights.
I remember Chavez. Chavez was, I think, 32 when Oscar beat him. He already had like over 100 fights by then. And, by 32, yeah, he was no longer, the Chavez of old by 32. That and Oscar was a very talented young man. Some of it was Oscar being a talented young man. Some of it is Chavez getting older. but I don't see the talent of David Benavidez. The only elite level quality that I see in David, honest to God, is that he has a good engine. Base, what say you?
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Very basic, doesn't have a jab, doesn't have good footwork, can't fight on the outside, can't counter punch. He's a flat track bully. He's an on top fighter. If he's got someone who pushes him back, he has issues. Now in regards to Canelo and slippage, no, 100% there's some slippage there. He's not as good as he was in 2021. He's not as good as he was in 2019, but he's still better than 99% of who's at 160, 168, and to a lesser extent, some of 175. So the only people I see beating him at 168 is Bivol coming down and David Morrell in about a year and a half.
We have my man. Shout out to my man Lennox. Lennox, you motherfucker, where you been? Lennox says Showtime doesn't have the money for a Benavidez fight. People need to let it go. The fight won't happen. Let David go get schooled by Morrell. Yes, it's a great fight. I love that fight because I think Morrell has the right base style for David Benavidez, but not the experience, not the rounds in the bank. And that's what makes it intriguing. That if David Morrell had 15 fights or 20 fights, I could say wholeheartedly David Morrell knocks out David Benavidez. But because he only has 9 fights, not that many rounds in the bank, it kind of puts him on an even terrain that David has the right style, but perhaps not the right level of experience. Beats, what say you about that fight? Do you like Morrell to win that fight, and how familiar are you with David Morrell?
Yeah, Morrell. Well, it's an eye test thing, though. Let's keep it real.
It is
very much an eye test thing. We have to see him take on, some hard competition, like maybe even a John Ryder, and then we can see if we can get it cracked. But on the eye test, he's just vicious, man. The kid is vicious.
I like him. Base, what do you think about Morrell Benavidez? Do you think Morrell has the minerals for David Benavidez?
100%. I mean, look, let's not forget that he was supposed to face John Ryder, and I think it was wasn't it John Ryder's team that went the opposite direction for the Jack Parker fight?
Yes, they did.
So he's been up for those challenges, and while I do agree it is a lot of eye test, and you know me, I don't really give a lot of credence to the eye test, especially when you're not fighting the right level of people. But if you look at David Morrell, in the 9 fights that he's fought, most of the other guys in the division wouldn't be fighting those kind of people till like their 17th, 18th, 19th fight. So technically, you look at the level he's fighting ahead of schedule. So I can look at the eye test and say, well, for where you are as a professional, you're ahead of schedule. Okay, you've got a regular title, which doesn't mean anything, but in only 9 fights, that actually does mean something. It means that they're ready to put you in with the top dogs. So yeah, 100%. I think he washes Benavidez.
If the fight, because it looks like that fight could happen in the fall. Looks like that fight could happen in the fall. Is it too soon?
No. Punch power and punch selection. Remember, Benavidez, the only thing he can do is try and hope that David Morrell gets tired after 6 rounds and then comes on top from there. Like outside of that, he's not going to be able to land on him. He's going to stay holstered the entire time.
Base, what say you? I mean, Beats, what say you? Do you think if the fight, because Samson Lukowicz said about maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago that fight is done, or that they're going to do that fight, just something along those lines to where that's what's next. And when you think about Benavidez, well, Charlo is not. You're not getting a Charlo fight. Charlo hasn't fought in 2 years, so he can't be next. Demetrius Andrade may end up fighting Charlo, according to Charlo, based on a conversation that they had. And even if they don't fight, Demetrius is more expensive than David Morrell. He's going to want more money than David Morrell. You can get that Cuban guy out there for a couple $100,000. You can make the fight with him. So if Morrell is next, do you like Morrell's chances?
I tell you what, yeah. Well, one thing, the only thing, like, he uses his size well. Benavidez, he does use his size well, and he's a little more experienced. So I might, as much as I like the eye test, I don't know enough about Morrell. I probably have to I'd probably swing and say, yeah, Benavides. But
I would love nothing more than for David Morrell to expose this guy. But even more than that, because it would be bad if Morrell did it, because Morrell only has 9 fights. You're supposed to be the Mexican monster, all that bullshit. And I would love for Morrell to expose that guy. But even more than that, I want the Canelo fight. I want Canelo versus Benavides in September. At minimum, what I want is for Canelo to put him on the spot and tell him, I'm the A side, you're the B side. The fight happens when I want it, where I want it, and that's the zone. To Drew's point, which is a very valid point, and Lennox's point, Showtime doesn't have the money. What makes these guys think that Showtime has all this fucking money? Like you see what the headlines are, and these people ignore it. Like they completely ignore everything that's going on. They have arguments on Twitter. Like, bro, having an argument with me on Twitter is not going to change the circumstances. They don't have the budget to do all this shit that you're talking about. They really don't. That's why Matias, Matias he might end up going to Matchroom, because what the fuck y'all got for Matias? Yeah, he been fighting on PBC shows, but is he going to get the winner of Rolly versus Barroso? No. Is he going to get Javante Davis? No. What the fuck?
Well, there you go. And when you look at like Andy Ruiz is probably one of their like more marketable fighters. He's desperate for this Tyson Fury fight. He was calling it. He was saying, "Yeah, I've got the fight already." No, you ain't. No, you ain't. He was calling it already.
And they saying he's about to fight Zhang now. What do you think about that fight, Beats? Does that make you less hard on Fury if he fights Zhang?
It's a clever fight, isn't it? Because like Zhang for slow-footed Joe Joyce worked perfectly for Zhang, but slow-footed Zhang for Fury not so good for Zhang. You know what I mean? So he should be fighting Usyk. So it's a good way to repair. Like the F up he did not making the Usyk fight. But
I agree. Base, what do you think about that fight? Because I kind of think of it as it's risky because I feel like Zhang has more power than Valine, and we see what Valine did to you. Valine was a southpaw, Zhang was a southpaw. For those that don't know, those two guys spar each other. They got a lot of rounds with each other, Zhang and Valine. And what I see in Zhang is he has the power that Valine doesn't have. So what do you think about that fight, Base?
I mean, it's an okay fight. It's no substitute for the fight that we all wanted. As far as I'm concerned, I probably wouldn't purchase it off of just out of the because I can't let you get away with substitute fights that I didn't ask for when you didn't give me what I did want. So out of principle, I probably wouldn't purchase it, but I'd still find a way to watch it. It'd be intriguing for 4 or 5 rounds.
Beats, if they make that a pay-per-view, would you purchase it?
What's that, Fury and Zhang?
Would you buy that at the box office?
The pricing would have to be correct. Like, they ain't going to be charging me no £30 to watch Zhang and Fury when they botched up the Usyk fight. You know what I mean?
I got it. Now, with this Benavides thing, which is really a big part of the reason I went live all day, not really all day because I was taking naps and eating different kinds of food. I didn't do the latest episode of the relay until very much later in the day. So I've just been bullshitting and lounging all day. But every time I check Twitter, there's a Benavides fan in my comments moaning that David beat Caleb better. Like, better in what way, bro? Explain it. What's better? Because near as I can tell, ideally, you take the fight out of the judge's hands. And Canelo did that. David couldn't. And David is 6'2", likely rehydrates to about 200 pounds on the night, and he couldn't break a clinch. And all I keep hearing about is Kenny fucking Bayless. Am I bugging or are they bugging? Beats, you tell me.
All right, drop it again. The whole gist.
Well, basically what they're saying is that the reason that David Benavides was unable to knock out Caleb Plant is because of excessive holding from Caleb Plant. And what I'm saying is, when you're 6'2" and you rehydrate to 200 pounds or around there, that's no excuse. You're literally huge. You're way bigger than Canelo. So you should be able to break the clinch and get some punches in there. You know, that it's no excuse. That's my stance. But, you know, their stance is, oh, well, the only reason Caleb went the distance is because he was holding. That's what they're saying.
No, like what David isn't good at, his range control is not where it needs to be. It's not elite level, but the opposition has been so poor, it's not getting exposed. So at times, he walks in and like he's just his coordination just isn't good enough to get the shots off, man. And Canelo will embarrass. Look. If you fight Canelo, right, you will need a late round rally and Canelo to gas, and you catch him up. But as for David Benavidez being able to outbox or outwit Canelo, no. He's gonna get hit. He's gonna get punched up. He's gonna have to come back from behind and win it that way. You know what I mean? And look, he couldn't knock out Caleb because he couldn't knock him out. It had nothing to do with the referee.
This shit about Kenny Bayless. Kenny Bayless is not the one holding David's arms together. It's not Kenny Bayless. It's Caleb Plant. And the same way that Mike Tyson broke up the clinch in the second Bruno fight, the variety of clinches, because he was holding that whole fight. The same way it was on Mike to break them clinches and put punches in there, it's the same for David. Except David, you're 6'2", 200 pounds on the night. There's no excuse.
Can I just add this, yeah? Right? David is stand still so I can hit you. That's who David is, bro. That's who David is. You make that. You're like, I tell you, when he fought that old guy, Avro. Come on, man. Like, I know it's a long time ago, but David needs you to like basically be rooted to the spot.
He needs he needs for your feet to be nailed to the floor because he don't cut off the ring. Like I seen the Plant fight. Come forward in a high guard, and he doesn't do what all the elite pressure fighters do. What the elite pressure fighters do, what they tend to do is a good number of them, they have a very short jab. It's not even really their intention to hit you with it. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's their intention to get you to cover up. And while you're covering up, they're stepping into that jab, and they'll sneak something in there. Could be a uppercut up the middle, could be a left hook to the body, but they're just to get you to cover up. David don't do that. What David do is he'll come forward in a high guard like a fucking robot and then try for some big dumb punch that he telegraphs. Caleb gets under it, ties him up. That's why you couldn't knock him out, because you're not jabbing your way in. You don't have, as Beats pointed out, range control. You just
I want to counter that. I want to counter that because I see it slightly differently. We normally agree on a lot. On this particular one, I do think the referee did contribute to him not being able to get the stoppage, but not because of the clinches or because of like him not warning him for breaking out. It's because, to me, every time Caleb like went to hold him, Kenny Bayless would jump straight in and break them before Benavidez could actually do anything in the clinch anyway. That's what I saw. So it wasn't a case of, oh, he's not stopping him from holding it. So he's actually breaking him up before David's actually able to do anything on the inside to begin with. That's the issue that I had with it. And that's why I
will present you with a scenario. Here's a scenario. All right, here we go. Kenny Bayless, Caleb Plant, R2 or better be. Would Kenny have made a difference?
What if he's clinching on the inside?
Swap out David Benavidez. Same situation. Caleb Plant, Kenny Bayless, except it's R2 or better be.
Potentially, because if he's just grabbed it, listen, if he's grabbed him or he's about to grab him and then the referee says stop, you can't punch. So if he's actually in the actual clinch itself, which is what I'm talking about, and the referee breaks it, then that gives him a reprieve. If he's allowed to work within there, that's a different story.
Let me pose the same question to Beats. Beats, instead of David Benavidez, let's put R2 or better be in there with that same Caleb Plant, with that same Kenny Bayless refereeing the fight. Better be don't get the knockout?
Oh, easy work for R2. Easy work.
It's easy work, but that doesn't dispel what I just said. If he's gone to grab him and the ref says break, Beterbiev isn't going to be able to punch him when the ref says break, which is what I saw in the fight. Benavidez wanted to do some stuff, but he wasn't allowed to, because as soon as he went on the inside to do anything, the ref yelled break and he had to stop.
All right, now let me read this from Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime says, salute Ring IQ. Given Ryder's performance, do you think Eddie makes Ryder versus Berlanga as Edgar's acid test for a Canelo fight? I think given how many times Ryder got hit, you would have to get him a rebound fight first to just see what he has. And I think he earned that too. That's the other thing. Like, he fought his ass off. He did his best, and he fought his ass off. So I would say, I wouldn't imagine that would be John Ryder's next fight. That's a very tough sequence of fights given the number of punches that he took. Maybe he gets him a rebound fight later on this year to do a Berlanga fight next year, but that's not something that I see happening straight away. Berlanga and Ryder. And the other thing is, look, John ain't no bitch, bro. Like, you sure you want to put Berlanga in there? You sure? I tell you. like he might fuck up all the plans you got for that kid. He could, like, bruh, if Romer Angulo, who's fucking 38, Romer, who's fucking 38, had Berlanga trying to box and jab and do all this shit, what you think John gonna have him doing, bro? And John is a southpaw. I don't know about that.
Yeah, hey, listen, man. Like, I like that little shifty done to the left and chopped in that uppercut, left uppercut, man. That was nice, man. That was like,
you know, this shit. It's just too many. It's too many xenophobic people in America, and that's why I got to keep reminding people, even though I'm not a fan of Fury. Before you sell me the Brits can't box shit, who the fuck beat the shit out of Wilder?
That's
a British guy.
Yep.
Who the fuck beat the shit out of Jeff Lacey? A
British guy.
Like, like, I don't know. I think it's a combination of insecurity and xenophobia. That, do you still think it's the 80s or something? Because it's not. It's like, it's not the 80s, bro. Like, this is not your father's era of boxing. Yeah, it's a lot of good British boxers. How do I know? Well, they get more medals than we do at the Olympics. That's how I know.
Yep, and that's been for a few years now. You know, and like, it's a tiny island. This ain't a big country. It's a tiny island. You know what I mean?
You know, they're acting like we're going to the fucking Olympics and we're bringing home everything. Like, bro, do you pay attention? Like, we're not. Andy Cruz has gone to national. I'm not a fan of Cuban boxers. I do want to say that. I'm not a fan of La Finca. I think it's very effective for the amateurs, but I'm not a fan of it in the pros. However, it is a really great acquisition. Honestly, it's a great signing. What's your reaction to that, Beats?
Well, look, man, like, he went to prison trying to get over it. That shows how hungry he is. Like, he's won IBA, how much times on the trot, beat Keyshawn, and he's a top dude, man. Like, it's a huge signing. Like, I think Lennox said there was a 9-month bidding war or something. And for Matchroom to steal that, hey, that's a great weekend, man.
Yeah. Did you think he was going to go over there? Did it ever dawn on you? Because I think, at least I thought he was going to go to Top Rank.
I didn't even know, there was a big bidding war. I didn't even know until, whoa, they signed him. I didn't even know. Like the Regis thing, I know you had some intel on that, but I didn't even know.
Base, do you think that Andy Cruz will be able to flourish under the Matchroom banner, and did the news surprise you?
The news definitely surprised me. Just to let you know, Lennox wants you to drop a link for him. Yeah, like it was a big surprise because I wasn't sure if he was able to actually get the defection. I know he was talking about it for a while, but it took a long period of time before that even took place. So I didn't really know how that was going to transpire. To be honest, I didn't actually think he'd go Top Rank because they don't have. If he's obviously seeing TV, they don't really have the best track record with the Cuban guys and like getting them dates and you know, opportunities, especially when they're not necessarily, like, a lot of the time the most fun to watch or the most eye pleasing. So if anything, I would have thought he would have gone PBC just for like the easy work over there. until he got his profile up. But
Well,
the fact he went to Matchroom was perfect.
Before I let Lennox in here, I want to say that the stuff with Guillermo Rigondeaux at Top Rank, that really couldn't have made it an attractive, because it just dawned on me that Guillermo Rigondeaux was a decorated amateur, 2-time gold medalist, and Top Rank, in a way, I'm not gonna I don't condemn them, but I also understand it's two sides to this, that you beat their guy and they weren't happy about that because they wanted you know what they wanted to do, and you beat their guy, and you're not as marketable, or we're not as marketable at the time. So if you're Andy Cruz, I'm gonna fucking go to Top Rank? Fuck no, I'm not going to Top Rank. I'm going to Eddie. Now we got
You're welcome.
Lennox. Lennox is in the building. Lennox, what country are you in?
No, I'm on my way back to the East Coast at the moment, but I'm back. I'm in Cuba in about a week. Just to terrorize.
What are you doing in Cuba?
What do you think I'm doing in Cuba, bro? You know where I was. You know where I was before the. You know exactly where I was before the last the Garcia fight. I sent you. I took that picture. I trade with him loads of times, but I took that picture just to terrorize you.
I'm gonna be honest that I think that Lennox is like the real Bond in real life. I'm not gonna say nothing because I don't want Interpol to come after me at MI6, but I do think he's like the real Bond in real life. He's jet setting, taking pictures, he's doing shit. Lennox, Andy Cruz, honest opinion. The match? Can he go all the way? Can he go all the way? I
mean, let's be honest. I don't know if I was on here, but I was definitely on Twitter. But I believe you go back 2017, I said anyone in that kid's weight class should just settle for the silver medal. I said that as far back as 2016, 2017, when I saw him in with Turkmenistan or whatever. I was over there watching the Ibers. I've been on. That's my man. You know what I mean? I've been on him for ages. Yeah. As far as the bidding war, this is, as far as I know, on the inside, this is the biggest, or well, maybe not as big, as close of a bidding war as the last time there was this big of a bidding war, low key, was Devin Haney, because a lot of people don't know that Bob was after Haney for bare long. Like, there was a big Matchroom versus Top Rank bidding war for Haney. He's been in your, actually, Andy's been in your neck of the woods for the last 9 months. He's been in he's been in the Dominican Republic. That's where he defected to.
Oh, it's a lot of good ass out there. So he's in the right. Well, he knows all about Dominican ass. Not Cuban.
He's been in the DR, and yes, actually, what's his name? Bob was making heavy moves to sign him. Yeah, Bob was this thing. So just for the record, you know what I mean? It's a chat I have with Beats a lot of times where I said, boxers getting all this credit for signing Matchroom rejects, and everyone likes to poo-poo Matchroom. But just for the record, yeah, Matchroom just pulled 2 coups over Top Rank. Yeah. You know what I mean? And this Andy Cruz Gomez thing, that's been ongoing actually since he defected, yeah, because the man that was part of the defection process is the guy that kind of assisted was my guy at 126 to beat Shakur. Oh my god, I just trained with him. Why am I blanking? So it's late for me at where I am.
Rotisserie Ramirez?
Yeah. not Ramirez. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, it's been a big war over there, and I think it's obviously the international appeal because but Eddie. So honestly, I don't know what Eddie paid. But what people don't know is Eddie's a big Andy fan. Like, if you watch, there's a few clips during the Olympics. Like, Eddie's literally, you know what I mean? If he was a female, the cooch was dripping. You know what I mean?
I want to say this because I didn't do an episode of the relay on it, but this is what I think, and I want to get it out, that it couldn't have been a better time to sign Andy, because the reset button is about to get hit at 135 pounds. And I believe that's his weight, right? That's his weight, 135.
Yeah, pro 135.
So when you think about that, the Devin Haney might beat Lomachenko or whatever. Maybe he loses, maybe he wins. But either way, I don't think he's going to stay there. Either way, I think he's going to vacate because his body is growing one way or another. He might move up. If he moves up and all those belts get redistributed, and Andy's around. Yeah, and I'm not a fan of La Finca. You know that. I'm just not a fan of it aesthetically. But it's like, yo, if this kid is who they say he is, and he's as good as they say he is, and that translates in the pros, it's just him and Shakur. It's just him and Shakur.
Shakur's not going to be at one. Most of the mandem at 135 are not going to be at 135 long because these lot are like growing, and these lot are all headed to 140. I think
So,
the state.
Lennox.
Yeah.
So Lennox, you think it's a fast track for Andy Cruz? It's a fast track.
It's a fast track. It's a fast track. Like, it's not just, listen, he's also done World Series of Boxing. Like, that's my, I mean, no, check the stats. This is my guy. Like, I've been banging on about this man since, like, 20 this thing. I went Cuba to train with him. Like, he's the guy. And whatever you think of my opinions, at least Beats, we agree or disagree. You know I know my boxing.
I hold Lennox's opinions in high esteem. Lennox knew that Tony Yoka wasn't shit, and he wasn't ever going to be shit. He told me he ain't shit. In fact, Lennox's words 3 years ago, close to 4, man's too fragile. He's too fragile. 3-4 years later, he's getting smacked around by Martin Bacoli like he burnt the beans. You know, he's fragile, fucking fragile. Beats.
You got Zhang and Finger right as well. Yeah.
Got Zhang right. Beats told me Daniel Dubois ain't shit. He ain't ever gonna be shit. He said that. He said that guy ain't shit. Now I didn't want to believe it. You know, kid's got a neck like a ham sandwich. Like, bro, look at this kid. He's huge, bro. He's swole, yeah. Hard, he's fast. Got shit beat out of him by Joe Joyce. So if Beats and Lennox tell you that a guy ain't shit, the guy ain't shit. If they tell you guys all right, because that guy's all right. Shout out to them.
Before we switch gears, yeah, there's another. I know you hate La Finca and that. There's another Cuban that, you know what I mean, I've been big on for a bit. And you lot say he's only got 9 fights, but I've seen a bit more than 9 fights. You know what I mean?
No, I like Morel.
I like Morel. And it's very, so here's a few things, you know what I mean?
Lennox, I have a question and you have to answer it. If they make that fight in full, does Morel win? I think he can.
Yeah, I'm backing Morel.
I think his shot selection. See, I know he only has 9 fights, and I know that you know this. Well, no, they're not the greatest guys, but just looking at him, he knows his range better than David. Yeah, he knows his range better than David. He does, and he has power. I feel like he has more one-punch power than David. That if he catch you, he'll catch you.
There's a few more things there. He's a lot more defensively responsible, and in shot selections, his defensive responsibility, you lot forget. Go back and slow down that last fight, the Yamaguchi fight. Look at where he throws a punch, yeah, and before the next one's coming, the hand he just threw is already back at home. His defensive responsibility and his footwork is not flashy, but it's there. And also, he turns over his punches. The thing is, what people forget, Benavidez is a slap puncher. Yeah. Benavidez comes from that Andy, what's his name? Andy Ruiz School of Boxing. That man can't cut off the ring. They
combinations like he's having an epileptic seizure.
David Morel turns over his punches. He's got better range control. He's way more defensively responsible. Yeah, he gets in this thing, but if you slow down the exchanges, he does not get hit in those exchanges. So I'm backing Morel just because, yeah, I know his 9 fights, and he's gone 12. He's gone 12 rounds quite easily. So that, he might gas, he might this thing. And let's be honest, you know what I mean? Benavidez got dropped by a semi-puncher.
Ronald the Thrill Gavril.
He got dropped by a semi-puncher, and he's not really been in there with man really, really letting them things go on him. You get me? Like,
yeah.
Like,
I have this image, Lennox. I got this image in my head that Morel slaps him up, and I know that my judgment is a little bit compromised because I'm sick of hearing about David. Like, bro, I'm just tired of the shit. But I have this mental image of Morel coming over the top with some shit and dropping this motherfucker.
All right, I want to ask a question, yeah? So you've got Kessler, Ward, Frutch, you've got Groves, you've got Saul Canelo Alvarez. You've got Joe Calzaghe. Does David Benavidez make all-time top 10 super middle?
No.
Huh?
It's not there. Hell no. I mean, it's not there at all. Like, no.
Was that a piss take, Beats?
I think it was. David Benavidez? What?
Then Tony Petty Jack. He don't make top 10. He doesn't make the top 10. So why are they shouting for him so hard?
Because he's all the PBC has. The less they have, the louder they shout, which is what they did with Wilder. The less they have, the louder they shout, because they've got it all riding on him. You know, like if you look at the situation that they're in, see, you know, Top Rank has a great stable of young guys. And even Boxer, to an extent, with Ben Whitaker and Dan Aziz, and just some of the young fighters that they have, and some of the fighters that are at the start, like Fraser Clark, you know, Richard Riakporhe, that these are still unbeaten guys. They have more of a stake in the future than PBC does. Think about it. Andy Cruz just went to fucking the Matchroom. That's the future of lightweight right there. That's a piece of it. They have that. Top Rank has a piece of it in Shakur, in Keyshawn. Y'all got a 28-year-old Gervonta Davis. What else?
So
Frank Martin.
28.
yeah.
Well, to be
28.
fair,
He's
Andy
damn
is
near
27.
30.
He's only a year younger. That
Bro, he looked younger, bro. He got the young spirit, bro. The young energy spirit. And I like Keyshawn, man. I fucking like that kid, all right? Business Keyshawn.
You know, Andy Cruz embarrassed him badly. Like, I like Keyshawn too, but
He
was
did,
looking
but he's
silly in every single fight against Andy.
Look,
Cruz.
Andy Cruz was the Celine Dion of the Olympics. You know, he's just a guy, bro. Like,
Dude,
he's
can I just
fucking guy.
say?
Listen, Beats. I'm sorry, I got to say this. Yeah, let's stop chatting about the Olympics like the man didn't fight 4 times and Keyshawn landed 1 significant punch in 4 fights.
Look. I want to say this about Cruz. I don't get overly excited about amateurs anymore. I don't, because of guys like Tony Yoka. I kind of learned my lesson. Mikaelo Young, Tony Yoka. That, yeah, you know, you might have had a great amateur career, but those are 3-rounders. You'll find out who you really are in those 12 rounders. That's what.
Like Joshua Buatsi.
I feel like we talked about it a couple months back when we were talking about Andy Cruz. Then, like, I heard from amateur boxing, like real amateur boxing nerds, that he's gonna translate well to the pros. But yeah, a lot of that, like, we've seen it. Like, a lot of these Cubans, they turn pro, and it's like, yeah, you mastered the art of winning 3-round fights. Like,
Yes, thank you.
You're not a real like boxer.
Fucking Julio.
In like the pro sense.
Fucking
I've
Julio.
heard, like, listen, when it comes to Andy Cruz specifically, like, I've heard, and I've seen him fight. I saw him fight Sean McGoldrick in the World Series of Boxing, Team GB guy. I think he made him look stupid. And I've heard from people who are like real like amateur boxing fans, like nerds, and they say, yeah, he's gonna be the real deal in the pros. So I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, I gotta.
Hold on, Jules. So one sec, country. I got to jump off in a sec, but I just want you to acknowledge me in the super chat that is showing on the screen. That I did tell you that yesterday, and you tried to rubbish my opinion.
What?
Did you read the super chat?
Wait, heard that Bozdik versus Bolotniks was a WBA ranking fight in an effort to push for a Bozdik-Buatsi eliminator. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. First, I want to give a round of applause to Base the Kid. His psychic powers and wisdom and class and grace allowed him to foresee that he felt, you know, this Bozdik fight could lead to a Buatsi fight. And I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think Buatsi has it for Bozdik. What I saw yesterday from Bozdik, nah, Buatsi don't win that fight.
I agree. And with that, guys, I'm gonna leave y'all. Enjoy the rest of the chat, but I'll be in the comments.
Hey, Lennox, one quick comment.
Did you say Buatsi is going to beat Vodzik?
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does. I don't think he does. See, Buatsi has good things. Like, I'm not going to trash him completely. I do think he has good things. I think he has a good jab, good range control, good speed when he is throwing. The problem is that you don't throw enough. You need to throw. You don't have to throw. You know, you don't have to be right hand happy. You don't even have to overcommit. But I feel like you could be busier with the jab. Be busier with the jab to keep the other guy occupied. And because you're not busy enough with the jab, you're gonna fall short of world class. You're gonna fall short.
You know what's scary, man? Like, they keep comparing him to Evander Holyfield over here. And I said, yo, he doesn't have the double jab. He don't work the body like Evander. He don't know how to parry like Evander. He cut like, where are you going? Did you see the press reaction in the UK to his fight?
No, but I heard it was all bad.
Oh, it was terrible, man. They were walking out the stadium while he was fighting.
That much I knew. That look, the fight was not aesthetically pleasing. A lot of people were complaining. A lot of people were leaving. So that much I knew, and I was gonna watch it, but I thought it was gonna be on Pro Box in America. It was on Fight. I'm not subscribed to Fight, and I'm not gonna subscribe to Fight just for the odd boxer show. Like, nah, y'all gonna have to give me more than that for me to subscribe annually or whatever. Like, and it's just not worth it.
Virgil Hunter can't train British boxers. You know why? Okay, he might make them technically a certain way, but for their marketability, it don't work out here, man. Tony Sims is a better trainer for you.
Real quick. Ivo brought up a point for Lennox, but it's a good point overall. He says, "What do we know of Morrell's chin?"
Nothing. But what do we know about David's? You've been sat on your back pocket by a quasi puncher before.
What do we know about any of them, really?
Honestly, every time someone brings up the chin, I always point back to what Pernell Whitaker said about that.
What did he say?
Pernell Whitaker said, you know what? I don't want people talking about my chin. I don't want to know if I have a good chin. You know why? Because that means I'm getting hit way too much.
Fucking Pernell Whitaker. Capricorn, Sweet Pete, God bless the dead. One of the greats. One of the great Capricorns in boxing. I'm going to say that I don't think David Benavidez is the Joe Joyce, per se, of super middleweight. I honestly don't think that.
He's not.
I don't think
even Joe Joyce. Remember what I said before the Zhang fight? You gotta pay the piper sometime. Even Joe Joyce got banged up. So all this iron chin, blah 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 blah. Listen, you gotta pay the piper. So what happens is every punch counts. Yeah, you just said something about Gorilla. Yeah, Gorilla had a great fight last night, but how much did that take out of him? Every punch counts. So there's a reason. So try to just juxtapose your thing about Amis or whatever. There's a reason there's a lot of Philly legends that were local legends, gym legends that never amounted to shit on the pros. You know why? Them men, they went to war in the gym, and every punch, you might think, it's just sparring. Every punch takes a little bit out of you. And then when they go under the bright lights, that's when the tax man came.
Nothing left.
Curtis Parker, Meldrick Taylor, even Roy Williams. Yeah, the Philly fighters. Yeah.
So that's just a cultural thing. Just a cultural example, like that Philly thing. So like when the Joe Joyce and man them chat about people's chins, I'm always like, you know what? You can't bat this thing. And I said it right before the Zhang fight. I was like, he's going to pay the piper, because I've watched Zhang probably do at least 60 rounds. And I know Zhang can actually, I was thinking Zhang was going to box him a bit more, because Zhang can box. People don't really know that. Like, Zhang can actually box.
Like the other day, yeah, Rig had this guy on here, and he was saying that, Zhang was tiring, and Lennox was. Did he say Joyce was coming on? No.
I remember. Oh yeah, I remember that. Listen. People argue. Like I feel like it takes something out of me listening to stupid shit. Like, bro, are you fucking serious, bro? You thought he was gonna turn? You didn't see what was happening to Joe every time that left hand touched him? His head was snapping all the way back.
In the second round, he buckled his knees.
Yeah.
People miss that. Everyone chats about the eye. Joe stumbled. His knees tightened up. He stumbled. He got caught up on the ropes. Watch the fight again.
Yeah, he went backwards.
Listen, what Zhang, for Zhang, the first 3-4 rounds was quite high output for him. And then when he saw that my guy's eye was banged up, you know what I see him do? I see him look at Joyce, and then he started fighting on the back foot for a little while, and he was looking, and he was just pot shotting him with the left hand, and Joyce couldn't see him. See, that's a clever fight. When he knew he had it won, he wasn't just gonna start frying wild.
Yeah, like what the fuck am I gonna do all the work for? You know Joe's gonna come forward. You know Joe's gonna give you every opportunity to counter him. So come on, Joe, throw your shit.
Also,
What Zhang did was so smart, catching and shooting. He didn't. If you look at the last couple of rounds, last 2 rounds, he's just catching and shooting. Like, bro, what the fuck I'm gonna come after you for? You gonna come to me? Come to me, bro.
Exactly.
Zhang's left hand was camping out on Joe's face all night long. I mean,
He was wearing that shit.
What was more impressive to me was the defense. You see, Joe didn't even touch him. And, like, you know what I mean? As much as I love, good, like, footwork defense, good, slick slips, my man was old school Aikido Buchi, hands up, catch him on the gloves, parry, George Foreman cross body guard. Joe's not landing shit.
That's
That's
what I literally told the fucking guy. I'm like, yes, Joe was throwing more, but it wasn't getting in. He was catching all of that shit. None of that shit was getting in. Now I'm gonna go take a piss. I'm going to go take a piss. I want y'all to hold it down for me.
And if that fight had continued, right, Joe would have lost the eyebrow.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, man. His eye
he probably would have got knocked out or at least dropped.
He was gonna get. I don't even think it's the eye thing. He was gonna get stopped because, you know, what I mean, I haven't seen quite a few rounds of Zhang on behind closed doors. Later on, after the 3rd round, he started taking steam off the punches. So what I saw was he was going to open up a bit more. Because listen, round 2, when he put everything on that left hand, buckled my man's knees, and then he was like, all right, I got it. And then he started taking a few off of this thing. So what I saw was that later on, he was gonna, you know what he was gonna stop him with? I put all my money on it. He was gonna stop him with a right hook, not a left hand.
Well, and the thing about it was that Joyce didn't have any answer for Zhang whatsoever. He looked like he was trying to hit him but couldn't get through and didn't know what to do.
Hey, Beats, you see the way he was whipping that right hook? he was whipping that hook.
Yeah.
He was whipping that hook. So
does anybody give
a mistake? Right?
Anybody give Wu-Tang Zhang a chance against Fury?
Well, the question is he making a mistake taking on his southpaw? Did he make, like, we saw like what happened with
Valim?
Yeah.
No, I give Zhang a big choice. I mean a big shot, just because them antics ain't gonna work on him. Fury's little antics. And what does Fury got left? Honestly, guys, like,
well, we don't know because he won't find anybody with a post.
Who's the last? Who's, like, just keep it real. Who's the last, like, elite
live opponent he's fought?
Yeah.
You know, I'll give him this. If he fights Zhang, it might be the first certified puncher he's fought in ages.
That's right, true. Since Klitschko, right?
Since Klitschko, well, Wilder.
Yeah. Well, wow, you're right. Wilder. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, but Wilder didn't have because he wouldn't fight. Like, that fight wouldn't be happening if it was a big risk. And I think that Zhang is slow enough in the feet that Fury will be able to capitalize.
So here's the thing: Zhang doesn't load up. Zhang, other than his right hook, his punches are invisible. They come right from the guard straight down. You know what I mean? And he can bang. Yeah. If the Zhang beats, I don't know if you recall, maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I first met Zhang, and I was on your chat and I said, "Fam, he's got a black guy that speaks Cantonese or whatever," and I thought it was the most hilarious thing in the gym because them man are like, you know what I mean? And it's this brother who's about as dark as me. He's but you remember that? You remember that beat? So I think I got on your chat and I was like, yo, it's mad. He's got this black trainer and they communicated like it's not no translator. The man speaks fluent, whatever Zhang speaks. I don't know, Cantonese or whatever. But if the Zhang of that day, I'll never forget it. It was a work train fight. Yeah, if the Zhang of that day in that closed door session with Otto, shows up, gets on his toes, and they did about 10 rounds at a clip. If that guy shows up against Fury, if he could turn the gas tank clock back just for one fight, you might have to quote me on this. It's the long night for Fury.
But you know what? That's Zhang's one disadvantage, though. He gasses toward late in the fight.
It's not. He had a medical condition. He wasn't really, I don't know what it is. He lives out in New Jersey, probably dietary things. He's watching it now. He's dealing with it. I'm not making an excuse. Yeah, I had the one fight, but You know what I mean? Skills pay the bills, and all I ever said about Zhang was about the skills that I've seen. Again, those that don't know me may think, he's just chat bare shit. But when I talk about man that I've seen behind closed doors, I know skills. So that's what I was on. Again, what makes a difference? What I'm saying is for about 5 rounds, even if his gas tank is not in. Remember, if Fury's not hard to hit, fam.
No,
This new
exactly.
Fury
And
is not hard to
I
hit.
was laughed at, brother, when I picked Zhang convincingly to stop Joyce. People thought I was fucking crazy.
I did. I
but
peppered his house with toilet tissue. I said all type of freak
yeah,
shit.
nah,
While
but
I have Lennox here, I gotta ask you about a fight. I'm a little nervous about the fight. It does involve the ladies. It does involve Katie Taylor. It does involve Chantel Cameron. Are we looking at an upset? Because Chantel, her combinations, to me, at least to me, they seem more fluid than Katie's. Katie's combinations are monotonous. 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. That's what combinations look like. Chantel, she shows me a little bit more.
I'm nervous. Like I've always, they're chatting about who's on the slide. I've always thought, again, paying the piper, that KE probably, that we're not here to tell fighters when to hang it up. I just think that, I'm nervous. What I will say is that I've seen KE have more dog in her than Chantel. I've never had to figure out if Chantel's got the dog in her. You know what I mean? So that's the advantage Katie has. But Chantel can outbox her, I think, probably a lot easier. But you know what I mean? Will she be able to? And if she tries to do that, does she get a decision in Ireland?
So it would be effective against Cameron. Katie's 1-2.
You think Katie will be effective against Cameron?
Yeah, with the 1-2. Yeah, I think she will. I think that's been one of her go-to moves. The Katie and her 1-2s and her combos. I think and her heart as well, man. She's got a lot of heart.
That's what I'm saying. She's got the heart, and she's gonna dig it out. She's gonna dig it out, especially in Ireland. Now, obviously, it's not an easy fight, but honestly, it's definitely 50-50. I'm edging KE for because it's in Ireland, but it is a bit of a nerve-wracking one still.
I'm gonna say this. I want to get this on record. It could be. I'm not settled, but it could be Katie Taylor or a draw.
That's how I see it.
I think the one thing with Katie though is she better not try to sell out like she did with what's her name, because if she lets herself get hit like that, she's gonna be in for a long night.
It's the body shots at the end of the combination or in the middle of the combination that I see that's a problem. That if you're going for the 1-2 all the time, this is open. And if you look at Katie, this is 1-2 all the time. It's a short 1-2, real close 1-2, and maybe she can fluster Chantel, or Chantel could take a half step back, move. If you take Katie's legs away, she's in trouble, because that's what saves her. That's what saved her with McCaskill. That's what saved her with Serrano. That's what saved her with Pursoon. It's her legs. If you take her legs away and she can't move around as much, she's in trouble.
Also, Katie's taking a lot of punishment, and the legs will sell you out. And like at her age, I'm thinking, I hope your legs don't choose to, go on holiday in the middle of a big fight, because she's got that heart, but it probably does her a disservice at points. Like, I'm on the record of always saying that if Amir Khan was smarter, he could have gone on a long undefeated run if he just cut the combinations off with 3 punches and used his legs. You know what I mean? KE will want to trade, and she's got the feet, she's got this thing, but she's been in a lot of tough fights. Like, I don't think people really pay attention because it's a female boxer, but she's been in a lot of tough fights. And at what point do you have to pay the tax man?
Yeah, because it's got to be wearing on her by now at some point. I mean, come on, nobody's
37.
Hey, how old is Katie again? How old is Katie again?
Katie can go for a little while. You know why? She's got no vices. I don't think she got a partner. She just boxes. She trains boxes, and she's very honest. Like the most probably honest pro out there. She can keep going, man. She can keep going.
We'll see, bro. Because Chantel. One thing about Chantel is, I know that she hasn't had as many displays as Katie, but one fight that stands out is the Mary McGee fight. Mary's a bigger puncher than Chantel by far. She's just not a better boxer. She's a bigger puncher than Chantel. And Chantel dug it out, man. She's fighting. Like that wasn't no boxing match. They was fighting. So
That's my worry is can she fight with Katie, because we know Katie's got the dog in her. Like if it goes down to a fight, you know what I mean? Who wins?
Yeah, fighting Irish, man. Fighting Irish.
Katie wins, man. And I tell you what, right from the side, like look, you see all that shit that Chantal was going through with Shane. That showed weakness to me, man. Showed a bit of a mental.
I agree.
That was some Joshua Buatsi shit, like soft.
I feel. Let me use the joint. Showed like a focus. Why are you concerned with Ellie Scott? Why are you concerned with Shane McGuigan when you're fighting Katie Taylor? Why? How is that?
I mean, you took away her title shot. That's what you did.
Quick one, yeah.
And sorry to say, can I just finish that point? Sorry, Lennox, right? And just to compound that, she even said, right, she went through a lot of mental stress with the situation with Shane. So I don't think that would phase Katie, man. Because Katie just wants to get in there and box. She wouldn't care. King Kong.
That's a fact. Bro, Amanda's left hand was giving her mental stress, and she fought back. Who gives a fuck?
And this is a thing that I'm like, look, and I have a very high opinion of Chantel's boxing, by the way. Short of Katie Taylor, I don't really see very many girls that can beat her. The only one that I really think, she stands a very good chance because of their ages, is Caroline Dubois. You know, that Caroline's very young. By the time she's on her shit and maturated, there ain't gonna be a lot of nothing going on, bro. She just gonna fuck you up and go home. Caroline, I fuck with Caroline. But then again, that Brazilian girl, she might get fucking shit, man.
Caroline already has like top names scared. Like Michaela Mero was like, yeah, you got to call me in 5 years. Really?
But in 5 years, you'll be in your fucking 40s, lady. In 5 years, like the fuck, like you already in your mid 30s or early 30s or whatever. Like that was just a plain old no. Like that's all I seen. So look, man, I have a high opinion of Chantel, but I'm glad Beat said that because I kind of forgot. I was like, hey, yo, why you thinking about Ellie Scottney and Shane McGuigan when you about to fight in like all these people and you got the fight? I asked Chantel mad times the last 3 years, do you think you're going to get the Taylor fight? She usually said, no, I don't. So now that you got the fight, it was like, well, why are you thinking about Shane? And Ellie, like, the fuck that got to do with anything? You know what I mean? That kind of showed me like a kink in the armor. Like, yo, why you worried about that shit?
Before I go, I just want to, hey, Beats, I just want to hit one UK topic before I go. Is everyone about to give me my flowers for saying that Boxer was just signing Matchroom rejects?
Oh yeah, fucking wait. I want to say this. I said the same thing. I said that Ben Shalom is a hack. He's not a good promoter, and he's just trying to rebuild Matchroom, Shalom Room. That's what he's trying to do. Shalom Room. That's what he's trying to do. You signing guys. Look, I'm not knocking Lawrence, by the way, because I get it that if they're going to offer you more money than Matchroom, then yeah, I do get it. But for Joshua Buatsi, it is different. You had legitimate opportunities to fight in big fights. You just didn't want them because you're not as good as your build. You're not as good as they say you are. That's what I see. But with Lawrence, I get it. It's just that, Ben, you could sign these guys, the Matchroom castaways. You could do that. But now it's on you to promote them. And you're not the promoter that Eddie Hearn is. Like, no, call me a fanboy, whatever you want to say. You're not the promoter that Eddie Hearn is. You're not. So you're going to run into a wall because at some point, you're going to need a return on that investment. And I don't know if you could get it. I don't know. What's the big fight you going to make for Buatsi? What's the big fight? The big one that's going to get the money back. What's the big one you're going to make for Lawrence? Now, with Lawrence, I'll say you got Richard Reactor over there. That could be a big fight. But, we got to see if Lawrence gets past Chris Billum-Smith. There's a good chance he does, even though it's in Bournemouth. It's a good chance he does. But, it's just not a good situation, to be honest. It's not a good situation.
Oh, while we're on Boatsi, you know what? Yeah, after spending time with the professor, I clocked what's his name? What's Keisha Cole's dad's name again?
Virgil Hunter.
Yeah, Virgil Hunter. I clocked what the problem is. So what people don't know is Andre Ward is lefty. He's left-handed. So he fought with his dominant hand in front. So a lot of the techniques he did, yeah, and was able to do was because his dominant hand was in front, yeah. And now my man's training guys who don't have their dominant hand in front to do shit that someone who naturally had their dominant hand, right, the way your brain's wired, right, your dominant side does certain things first. So because my guy Ward had his dominant side in front, a lot of those lead hand defenses and a lot of those things that my man's trying to give to what's the French guy that just got sparked out again?
Yoka Boatsi.
Yeah. He tries to train these men to do a lot of these things with their lead hand that they're just not wired. That's not how a natural right-handed person
You're
does.
saying that Boatsi should be fighting southpaw?
No. I'm saying that the style, it's not about Boatsi. The whole style that Virgil Hunter. That's why most of his fighters are getting mashed up. As I clocked it, is that what's a great outside of Andre Ward? What can you say about Virgil Hunter's fighters?
Well, not much. All I'm gonna what Virgil's gonna end up doing, right, is leave Joshua Boatsi caught between styles, because that fight, if it gets such bad attention from the media and fans, right, they've had to spend how much? Ben's you can't just, okay, we're going to try things out. You've got a crowd out there to entertain. You've got a viewership out there. It's on satellite, man.
For Boatsi, more than Okolie, because Boatsi, and I said it in the recap, you made this about visibility. I need people to see me fight, and they can't see me on the zone. We seen you, motherfucker. Well, I didn't, thank God.
Hey, you know what? That was the most. Hey, you know what? These men should just stay out of the politics, because that was the most dickheaded thing to do. Because the two guys that just signed the matchroom did it for visibility on the zone. Like, that's what they said. You know what I mean?
Regis is getting extra blessed because he's saying that the way he describes it, it's almost like a co-promotional deal where he can put his fighters on matchroom cards now.
Yeah.
Look, this is the thing. With Lawrence, it's negotiable. Beats has heard me say that before, that there's not too many politics at cruiserweight. So big things can still happen for Lawrence. It's not as bad as it is with Joshua Boatsi, because Joshua got over there and immediately started towing the company line. Oh, visibility. People can't see me on the zone. All right, motherfucker. When you fight, your very next fight, let's see what those numbers are, because this is about visibility.
Nobody fucking wants to see him, though.
You know what's mad about him saying that, bro? You were born in Ghana, fam, right? How many of your man in Ghana? No, hang on. How many of your people in Ghana are watching you fight on Sky? You know what's in Ghana? The zone.
Be nice, bro.
You absolute fucking muppet.
And you know what Eddie said? Like, they brought up the possibility of Boatsi still fighting Bivol. He said, yeah, he gets a third of what was offered, at least a third. He gets nowhere near the milli. He gets nowhere near it.
Why would he? He gets over there and he said this, and this, I felt like it was a testament to either fighters not knowing the business, or maybe he's relying on fans not knowing the business. You're saying that the deal would have come with strings attached. Yeah, anybody's deal would have came with strings attached. Top Ranks, Queensbury's, anybody's. So you saying that don't mean nothing. Yeah, they'll put you in a b-ball fight. Yeah, but there's strings attached. Yeah, they'll put you in a Smith fight. Yeah, but there's strings attached. That's how anybody would have did it.
That's the way contracts work. Zhang just beat up in Joe Joyce, and now he's got to fuck with Fish Eyes for at least one more fight.
Right.
You don't want to fuck off back to Matchroom and get a big payday.
Now, you know what's going to happen? He's over there on Sky. Look, I don't think we're on the eve of Dan Aziz as a fight for Boatsi. I don't think we're on the eve of that. Surely we're not on the eve. We're certainly not on the eve of a Boatsi-Whitaker fight. No, Whitaker's just getting started. Yeah. So what's going to happen now is you're going to start talking about other people's fighters. That's what's going to happen. You're going to start talking about Yard, even though they offered you Yard. You didn't want to go over there. That's what's going to happen because there's nobody on Sky right now for you. Hey, who you going to
fight? Beats, remember when Eddie left Matchroom, yeah, and I said, I think it was on your channel, I said, listen, yeah, we're about to start experiencing American boxing politics in the UK, and we're not used to it, and we're not going to like it. We're fully in it now. Now, these men are going to start doing PBC things, chat about man that they're never going to fight, yeah, just to promo their fight. Look at all the boxer cards, fam. How many boxer cards have been sold on the back of Eddie Earn? Yeah?
Bro, the whole press conference, whole press conference for Buatsi was an Eddie Hearn press conference. Let's talk about Eddie. They didn't even know who his opponent was going to be yet, or we didn't know. They spent their whole press. The zone ain't shit.
Bro, they made me think Hearn was going to get in there and mix it up with Buatsi.
Can we
the
see
way they were talking,
y'all? Can we see the parallels? Every outfit is either attacking Eddie's fighters or Eddie to sell their fucking product. Canelo, AJ, every promoter going at Eddie. And Beats. And who's the other brother from the UK there?
Lennox.
Did you guys know that the Saudi guy they're running point for them flew all the way to Guadalajara to do whatever they got planned? They're not doing that. They're not flying to motherfucking Queensberry or Top Rank cars.
Wait, Drew. You think they was in attendance for Ramirez versus Comey?
And let me break something down, yeah, which I think Julius definitely knows this. When it talks about this Saudi money and all these dickheads start talking Saudi money, you know only one promotional outfit actually has a contract with the Saudis, right?
Yeah.
You know Skills Challenge only does business with one outfit, yeah? You know there's a reason. That's why I laugh when Bob Arum and these men are like, yeah, we're going to go Saudi. I'm like, hey, how many major promoters have actually done a Saudi fight? I'm not talking about this. I'm not talking about these offshoot things like the Tommy Fury nonsense where people weren't getting paid. I mean, legit Saudi fights with stadiums. There's only one, and you know it's legit because there was an actual deal announced to do XYZ. Yeah. So when all these men that have never done a Saudi deal start chatting about Saudi money, I'm like, rah, do they think everyone's stupid? Because there's really only one real boxing outfit.
Exactly. I want to tell you guys this. I want to tell you guys this. Word around the campfire is that the Saudis want to do Crawford Spence.
I've heard that, but
no, I could break this because I talked to him this morning. I was on my flight back from Guadalajara this morning. I can't say everything, but I recognized Amir. I'm like, hold up, you from Saudi, ain't you? And then we were talking. That's the perk of being in first class. And I'm like, look, bro. He's like, you're flying out here to go see. So he asked me, you just fly to these fights because you like boxing? I'm like, yeah, I don't. You guys, there's too much shady business to actually work in boxing, but there's a bunch of idiots. So he basically said, all the rumors are true that they're trying to make all those 3 fights on one night. And when Frank Warren and Bob Arum saw the money in the UK for Fury Usyk, who do you think they came calling to again?
It doesn't compare. It was never going to compare. And what Amir said that most people either didn't catch. Shout out to everybody. We have the immortal Corey and Cassell. Steve Kim. Steve Kim has entered the chat now. I just want to say this before I pass it to Steve.
What's up, Steve? Hey,
what a lot of people seem to miss is that Amir himself said it live. He said, yo, what they were going to pay one of these fighters, one of them, was well in excess of what the whole fight was worth. Like, yeah, bruh, Fury versus Usyk is a great little fight. Maybe 20 mil, 40 mil, around there. They're willing to give one of these guys like damn near a hundo. That fight ain't worth a hundo, bro. I'm telling you, it ain't worth a hundo in America, and it ain't worth a hundo in the UK. Like, hell no.
But Jules, they got the money. They got the money to shut him up and make him do the fight. Man, you know what I'm saying?
So, Steve, I want to ask you about Canelo. You know, I know you saw the fight. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions on it. I don't trust most of them, but I trust yours and the panelists. What did you think?
You know, Canelo, I think, is on his physical descent. But I wouldn't call it a full-blown decline. Look, he could still beat most everybody. It's going to take a really good fighter on a really good night to defeat him. I don't think it's so much the age. He's now 64, 65 fights in, so that odometer is pretty high. But credit to John Ryder. I think me and you, Jules, were one of the few American stateside media that said, hey, this guy's pretty good. He's a solid, hard-nosed plugger. He's a guy that's to be taken seriously. I thought he beat Callum Smith 3-4 years ago. But, you know, a fighter has a shelf life. And there's a time and place where they ascend. Then after a while, they hit their apex where they're really special. And then there's a time where they descend. And depending on your style and how many punches you've taken, that descent can be really quick. It can be really rapid. Or it could be a rather slow erosion. And with Canelo, I don't think it's a surprise that a guy 60-plus fights into it really is declining. It kind of reminded me a little bit of when I saw Marvin Hagler against John Mugabe. That's the fight where Ray Leonard said from ringside, that guy's slipping. Even though he won, Ray Leonard turned over to Michael J. Fox. This is a true story. And they said, Mike, I could beat that guy. So the decline is really incremental. It's not like it's drastic. Trust me, there's less than 3 fighters in the world that you'd say is 50-50 or a favorite against Canelo. We have to keep that in mind. But, Jules, it's really interesting, and I'll send you the article when it comes out tomorrow. One of my lines, and I've used this on Fearless before, for all the critics of Canelo, I put this in there. In life, not just in boxing, the standards that you have for somebody, that's what you think of them. Whether it's a high standard or low standard, whether it's about behavior or test scores. If you have a high standard for somebody, and a lot of these people seem to have a very high standard for Canelo, that alone tells you they know he's good.
Listen,
Seriously.
Steve, what do you think about Roberto Diaz's contention that Canelo should take 2 years off? You remember Mayweather did that.
Oh,
he left for 2 years. Do you think that would help?
That's a great question because he's still only 32. Think about this, guys. He's 3 years younger than Terrence Crawford. So, you know, that's a very interesting idea. But in boxing, when you stop that momentum, it's hard, and you don't know if he still wants to do it again. You know, Ray Leonard was able to have a lot of stops and starts, but he was an incredibly special talent. But I think there is a psychological burnout that goes out with a lot of these athletes. I'll just say this. The Canelo of 2 years ago, I don't think lets Ryder out of the 5th round.
I agree with that.
But again, Ryder's a solid guy. Ryder is infinitely better than Juan Montiel Macias, who marked up Charlo the last time we saw him. Again, but it's about the standards. You hold Canelo to a much higher standard than most fighters. It's the biggest compliment you can give to him, that if you think that was a terrible version of Canelo, you actually think he's damn good.
You must.
They don't even realize it.
And I'm going to say that, look, I'm not taking the piss either. I'm not joking. That John Ryder yesterday beats Caleb Plant.
It would be, I think it would be a 50-50 even fight. I do. By the way, guys, and I just thought it was really interesting that Dimitri Bivol is now saying, well, I'll only do that fight at 68. And I'm thinking, Dimitri, you're boxed in. Your management and Matchroom have given you no options but to take that fight at Canelo's behest. I don't like the way they've done it with Bivol. You have the 2022 Fighter of the Year. I had a very interesting exchange over the phone with Vadim Kornilov. He's a good friend of mine, but I don't bullshit. I said, Vadim, what are you guys doing? There's no fucking plan here. Excuse my language.
There isn't.
I mean, what are you doing? Just being idle and doing. I go, what happened to your career development? Think about this. No one ever says, when I win this fight, I'm going to create my own business. No, he gets right back into the line. And I don't want to use the word begging since you beat him. But think about this. The guy's the 2022 Fighter of the Year. We're getting into June. He doesn't have a fight. And his only real option, it seems like, is to fight Canelo. And I'm thinking, that's it? That's what you do with the 2022 Fighter of the Year?
And when it's akin to like what I'll say, Steve, I compare it's Triple G 2.0 after the second Canelo fight.
No, it's because look, let's say this. And I'm probably going to end up repeating myself because I said it in the next episode of the Relay that I'm going to upload after this. That the real problem is between Artur and Dimitri, you already eliminated all the competition at light heavyweight. The both of you. he beat Vosdick and he beat Joe Smith and you beat Joe Smith and you beat Pascal and you beat Zerto and you beat Canelo and he beat Yard and now he's about to beat Smith because I think he's going to beat Smith. I think the most interesting thing that could happen at light heavyweight at this point is Smith pulling off the miracle punch and beating Artur.
Yeah.
That'll shake things up.
I mean, I don't get this. A couple of weeks ago, me and Eddie Hearn had an exchange on Twitter because I don't think he keeps anyone busy enough. And look, and Vadim tells me, well, Steve, no one keeps anyone busy enough. I said, you know what? You're right. But is that the excuse now? I mean, look, MJ Akhmadaliev, I thought took 6 rounds to get started because he's ring rust. Mm-hmm. And Eddie's telling me, well, he's fought as much as anyone else. Well, okay, that makes you just as bad as everyone else.
That don't mean anything, you know.
That means that's the standard you set. That hey, I'm just as shitty as anyone else. Well, congratulations, you're all shit. I don't know what it's really frustrating because, like with Regis Prograis, I really hope that this 3-fight deal has provisions that these fights have to be within a 12-month period.
Oh, they do. According to him, they do. But I want to say, look, I'm slightly clairvoyant. This is going to work out. This is actually very good because, and I've said this many times on many lives, this whole thing about, well, I'm going to go to Top Rank and bro, there's no promises at Top Rank. Barboza is on the same side as Teofimo. What did Teofimo do? He fucking blew him off. He didn't want to give him the time of day. So going to Top Rank is not the Shangri-La that it's made out to be. Like, nah, fucking Barboza's been there forever. He couldn't get a TO.
Well, that's what Regis said. That's literally what he said. He was worried about getting stuck in a long-term contract with a lot of minimums and not being able, like, not getting those Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor names because his suspicion is that Taylor is going to move up, that Ramirez is going to avoid him, and that Lopez is going to leave.
I'm not sending my guy nowhere near where Rick Merrigan got a lot of his fighters. I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
I don't want to get into Rick because I'm going to get into Rick.
Excuse me. You mean the magician? He makes fights disappear.
I'm gonna go crazy with the Photoshop. Now I'm gonna put him on a box of fucking peanuts with a fucking magician wand.
Let me read the super chat. Let me read the super chat. Optimus Prime. Let me read the super chat. Thanks for taking my chats. Big fan of the channel. Last one. If you were a betting man, do you think Devin Haney goes back to Matchroom or stays with Top Rank after Lomachenko fight? I can't answer. I can't. This is why I can't answer that. Shout out to Rachel and Nonito. I see y'all. Yeah, I mean,
Mubuhai.
They saying what up, Steve. They saying what up.
Mubuhai.
Now, this is why I can't answer that right now. I believe that whether or not Devin would decide to stay at Top Rank hinges upon what happens with Teofimo and Taylor. If Teofimo wins, that's a fight you can explore. But if he loses, Haney versus Taylor doesn't have sizzle. Haney versus Lopez does. So I feel like Devin staying at Top Rank would be contingent upon that. But we also have to look at the time frame. We're going to get Haney versus Loma before Taylor versus Lopez. So what if Devin loses? I mean, I know that a lot of people feel Haney's going to win. I'm not even saying that he is or isn't. But entertain that scenario. If he loses, what then?
Jules, I would contend, and this is for all those people that say belts don't matter. That there in every generation, there's probably about 2 or 3 guys where belts don't matter. For every other fighter, these belts matter. And I would say that 98% of his value for Devin Haney is being undefeated and an undisputed champion with all the belts. And once, if he should lose that to what many people believe is a declining, older, smaller Loma, where's his value?
Steve, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's going to win that fight, in your opinion?
I would not count out Loma, and I'm going to write about this, and I try to hint it to Irgis and Vasily at the press conference about a month and a half ago. Ditch the download. If I hear one more thing about, well, he's just downloading info. No, he's losing rounds. I've never seen a guy lose 4 rounds in a row and be like, man, he's just downloading. I told this to Tim Bradley. I said, Tim, if I hear you use that phrase, you are no longer my favorite announcer. I am so sick of that stuff.
He's not downloading it. He's buffering. He's buffering.
He's
like, not downloading
is this a dial-up DSL download?
I mean, you run out of your 53 hours, and I said, Tim, you guys
the AOL sound.
His floppy disk is corrupted.
But anyway, guys, think about this in football. If a football team gets down 35-0 in the second quarter, no one ever says, well, the LA Rams are just downloading info. No, they're getting their ass kicked. It's a 12-round fight. I get downloading in a 15-round fight. Guys, we have not had 15-round fights since about the mid to late 80s. If Vasily Lomachenko decides to fight off the front foot and be the aggressive counterpuncher, because there is such a thing, and make Haney work and back him up early and do a better job of what Joseph Diaz did in spots, guys, I would not completely count him out of that fight.
Yeah, I'm not.
And then my whole point with that fight is like, Steve, we haven't seen Devin had to adjust in any fight. We need Loma to take it to him. We don't need him to wait till after 7 for his free minutes.
Well, by the way,
I think the thing is that you can't just be, look, I think Devin's great. I honestly do. But stylistically, I'm like, no, Loma's got the things you need for Devin. The angles, the volume, the pivots. So I'm like, I'm kind of leaning that way. And the only thing that I can give Devin is, yes, you have size and length and speed, but you don't have the power Lopez had to keep him honest, keep him respectful, and keep him out. No, you don't have that power.
About that, Julius, did you hear Shakur Stevenson's take on the Loma versus Devin Haney fight?
He's picking Devin.
Yeah, but do you realize what he said? Because he said, no, if Devin Haney is too big for. He didn't say he was a better boxer.
But everyone's bigger than Loma at lightweight.
But we're not. That weight cut is going to take some. The weight cut takes more out of Devin each fight at 35. He stays.
Guys, can I tell you something?
I don't think it'll be the weight cut. I think it'll be the fact that he can't fight on the inside.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. But guys, I know this for a fact. Victor Conte and his crew, they made a special visit to Las Vegas this week to already work with Devin to make sure he makes that weight. I know what Devin goes through the night before. There's a whole system of dropping weight. And it involves like hot baths, Epsom sea salt, and all this other stuff. It is such an elaborate thing that they do because with the 30-plus hours that it now takes from the weigh-in to the day of the fight or the first bell, guys are now fighting at unnatural weight classes, and you can game the system. So Devin in his own mind knows I'm at limited time. I've got 1 or 2 fights left at 35, but someone's got to push him over the ledge and put the pressure on early. If Lomachenko thinks he's going to win this fight by slowly getting into it, the fight's already lost. It's
I
already
want to say that Lomachenko's got to. Go ahead, Beats. Go ahead, Beats.
Can you use saunas over across the pond there to make weight?
Yes.
Can you use what?
Saunas.
Oh yeah, you can use sauna. It's a little bit different than the British thing. Guys do that, but I know the BBC has like suspended fighters. I think John Raul Casamero got busted, but I have never heard of a fighter actually being banned from competition in the United States over a sauna. I've never heard of that rule here. But again, people have to realize the weigh-ins that you see on television and the pictures that you get, those are the ceremonial weigh-ins a lot of times. Those weigh-ins have already taken place 6-7 hours prior. And it's a big advantage to the naturally bigger, younger man, in my view, because you basically now get to eat an extra meal. So there's a way to game the system. But look, Loma is very good at slipping punches and working off angles. He is very good, but he also has very short arms. So he has to go out there and crowd the airspace of Haney.
Agreed. And the thing is, what I see is, look, Devin Haney's money punch is not a hard right hand or a sharp left hook or an uppercut up the middle. His money punch is the jab. Okay, well, you're fighting a southpaw now. A southpaw who darts on the outside of that jab, darts back in, and puts something over the top. I view that as a problem. I'm struggling with the idea that Devin is going to keep him out. And I feel if you can't keep him out, he's going to dominate the pocket. Yeah. You're not good on the inside. You're good on the outside, not the inside.
Real quick, because I'm about to jump off, but I just wanted to say, like, if you're worried about the clinch, just watch the Jermaine Ortiz fight and count on your hands how many times Loma is able to successfully break out.
That's what I was going to say.
I think Devin might end up getting fucked up in those exchanges really bad.
Hey, Drew.
Yeah, Steve.
Wednesday. Keep Wednesday night open.
Okay.
By the way, Drew, it scares the hell out of me. Your discussion that you had with that bigwig out there in Saudi Arabia.
Steve, it was eye-opening.
Yeah.
Very eye-opening.
If that's the trend where every big fight now that fans want that have been developed in America suddenly gets shipped away, I look, it's great for the fighters, but for the long-term growth of this sport, if you want to keep taking away our Super Bowls, okay. I'm just telling you,
Steve, I think we did it to ourselves.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. I think we did it to ourselves.
Yes, but you talked about it for the last 3-4 years, Steve. These guys are putting these fights in places they shouldn't be. Nobody wants to buy tickets. I was with Chris, who knows all these gates. It's eye-opening watching fights abroad compared to in America, where they actually want to go buy tickets. They want to go to the event. And you can't get me to go to the fucking Punch Bowl, like Morrow says. It's not the War Grounds anymore.
Yeah,
Steve, we did it to ourselves. I mean, when you think about what I saw yesterday, you had guys. You're talking about a $50 pay-per-view, $54 at the most. You know, and it's not expensive. Like honestly, DAZN is not that expensive when you really crunch the numbers. It actually isn't. And you have people that they don't want to buy that shit, but you know what? They're not buying the other stuff either. So. It's not that the Saudis took the money or took the fights away from us. It's that the money isn't here the way that it used to be. So you got to do it somewhere else because the money isn't here.
We're not doing what it takes to not let it slip away either. You know, on top of
let me
that.
just say this, guys. This actually began once there was a reliance on casino money, whether it was Atlantic City with Donald Trump or Las Vegas. So there was a time in our history in this country. Chicago was a fight town. Miami was a fight town. Philadelphia was a fight town. LA was a much more busier fight town.
Atlantic City.
Yeah. Well, Atlantic City was basically the casinos. San Francisco was a fight town. But once we started to become more and more casino based, then you had HBO and Showtime taking away your top tier fighters away from over the air network TV, right? There became the erosion. It was never going to be immediate. But over 25, 30 years, then you see what happens. It's like the downfall of Detroit. Detroit at one time was our second most important city in the world back in the 50s.
Strong economy.
Yeah. I mean, so, and then now you have a system where every promoter has to sign a lot of fighters to exclusive network deals to keep that content for either ESPN, DAZN, or Showtime, which is great for the fighters because they get overpaid a lot, to be honest with you, for what they
Steve, I'll do you one better. Imagine if we had a healthier real estate market. These boxing gyms would stay open.
Yeah, they would. There's not a lot of fighters, so that's another one where that is part of the erosion. And now, if you're going to say to us, every single A-level fight, we're just going to go to the Middle East where nobody can go, basically, except the top 1% of 1% who actually like boxing. Let's see what happens in 25 to 30 years, what that does to this industry.
I'm telling you, Steve, I know exactly what's going to happen. Look.
Well, it's a globalization. I mean, Americans want to hang on to it was this, that. Unfortunately, the money's outside, you know what I mean? And
but why? But why, Lennox?
It's the grassroots development. You know, I'll point to your thing. When's the last time you lot had a gold medal?
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And it's not, listen, it's not a Saudi thing because I'm all over the world. I work in boxing, right?
Yeah, but you know, where USA boxing does not matter anymore is that 1988 was really the last year that our network, which I think was NBC still at that time, that actually televised boxing in prime time. I was a researcher for the NBC sports crew in 2000. I had to work for Teddy Atlas and Marv Albert. Spent a whole month out there in Sydney.
I haven't heard that name in such a long time, Steve. Right. Marv Albert. He's out here biting broads.
Right, and that's kind of the time it happened. By the way, Marv was a great guy, by the way, but MSNBC started showing all the boxing. It was not even on the networks. So the whole days of Howard Cosell being able to say, this Sugar Ray Leonard from Palmer Park, and it would just be like, okay, that's the guy. Howard likes him. He's a star right off the bat. Long gone. So I don't even know if a gold medal matters anymore.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, because look at Andre Ward.
Yeah.
If we needed an example of that winning a gold medal doesn't mean what it meant, it's Andre Ward.
Right. because he's literally been our last gold medalist in the last 3-4 Olympics, right?
Well,
2000.
that's more of a reflection. It's not a reflection on the gold medal, but it's more.
Well, technically, Steve, it's Clarissa Shields.
Oh yeah, it's
No, we're
yeah.
talking about this. We're talking about
Hang on. Let me.
We're talking boxing, not MMA fighters, guys.
Listen, let me mediate. I want to say that before I pass it to Beats, because I know Beats wants to get in on this. I want to say that it was Nick Khan who said it. Me and Drew have talked about it plenty of times. There's a video available that the erosion of the American boxing scene began when boxing ended up on premium cable networks. Because at that time, it was not immediately accessible to the common man. And I remember those days. I grew up in that era that we were poor. We were stealing cable. We didn't have it. We were stealing cable. Not everybody had cable.
Can I tell you something? Pay-per-view, the over-reliance on it. And this is a small, give you a small example of how it's different. Jules, I think I'm a little bit older than you, but when I was growing up as a child of the 80s and 90s, if there was a major pay-per-view fight, or what they really had was closed circuit up until the early 90s, right? Not only would those fights be replayed on HBO, then they would also be replayed on ABC or CBS or NBC. So once HBO said, no, the replays belong to us, again, part of that erosion, because at least people that didn't have cable, eventually within a month or two, they would still be able to see Ray Leonard Hearns on ABC Wild World of Sports or Cooney Holmes. I remember watching that on a prime time. So the boxing has gotten so greedy, all for the sake of having a smaller and smaller audience. And then they realize, why the hell are we? Then now they've created a system where most of your fighters in the top 10, and Jules, me and you have talked about it. I've written about it as of a month ago. 6 of the top 10 Ring Magazine pound for pound. I don't include Tank because he wasn't in it. 6 of them hadn't fought yet.
Yeah.
We're in May.
Yeah.
Wow.
Could you imagine if you're a fan of the NFL and the 3 best teams don't play?
Or
the NBA, LeBron James plays 5 games. Talk about low management. This is ridiculous.
Because we're dealing with a fragmented sport, Steve. Like, we have a very volatile market between all these promoters, and they don't work together.
Yeah, no, they don't. They what's funny? Bob and Don, they used to be like Spy versus Spy. Remember Mad Mag?
Yeah.
Wow, Spy versus Spy. Bro.
Before they became friends. But they would. I've been reading a lot of books about boxing in the 80s, and the bottom line is there was more of a free, honest market in a sense that if they had to come together on a fight like Ray Leonard and Duran, those 2 guys had to come together and make the fight. There was none of this network shit, none of this wrong side of the street. No, they just created their own street.
Well, look. I mean, you have. Go ahead, Beats.
Yeah, when you look at the model for Duran and Leonard, the first one, it was Arum and King.
And
they were trying to snake each other. Like, Arum got on a plane to go to Panama to see Duran and didn't think Don King was going to be on the plane, and Don was there, right? And but they got it done. They got it done a lot more than you think. And so let me give you another example of the erosion of boxing. I still remember when Bob Arum had the top ranked series on ESPN, he had a thing called Super Bouts. And so a lot of those great fights that he promoted in the 70s and 80s, they would run on ESPN throughout the summer. You always got to see them. So I kind of knew who these guys were. And even though they're a generation ahead of me, but the other thing that was really interesting to me is that the thing that gets me, if Spence Crawford is made for Saudi Arabia, that's the good news. The bad news is 98% or 99.95% of Americans cannot go. Logistically, it doesn't work out, and it's expensive. The other thing is this, guys, isn't that going to be in December? So literally, these guys are just going to wait all the way to December. Really?
Look, I'm going to be honest. I don't have the spirit that I had for that fight. At this point, I believe that the main reason that the fight hasn't happened yet is because the money in America was already not there. So the only hope we have to get it done is for it to go to Saudi. It's not, in other words, for me, it's not the chicken and the egg. It's not, the Saudis are taking all our fights. No, they're making the fights because we're not making them. because the money's not here. Now they have the money, so fuck it, do it.
I mean, Tim Smith said it like a year ago. Like he told you the quiet part out loud. You know that it's economics, and all the people were doing, from both sides is trying to psychoanalyze the fighters. They're not scared. It's just they don't have the fucking money for it. That's all it is.
Let me say this before I pass it to Beats. I remember last year they made Dimitri Bivol versus Zerto Ramirez. And Marcos Villegas, God bless him, nothing against him. But he was moaning, oh, that should have been in California. It would have been great. Simple question, Marcos. Would it have made in California, that fight, the Russian guy, nobody knows, and Zerto, would it have done in California what the Saudis were willing to pay for it? If the money's there, the money's there. If it's not, it's not.
But this is what I think Marcos' point is, that Bivol won that fight, wrapped up the Fighter of the Year, but if he would have done it in LA in front of a lot of fans, I think his market value would have been raised, and then maybe he actually fights in the first half of 2023 instead of just
against who, Steve? There's nobody left.
I agree, but you know what's funny? I'd rather have him fight somebody. But you know what's funny? And I tell this all the time to managers or people in the business when they say, hey, can you do a story or interview him? And I say, when's he going to fight again? Well, we're working on it. And I said, yeah, when you get it done, call me. I cannot write about a fighter if they're not doing a damn thing unless they're a historic fighter.
Exactly.
We have way too much stagnation in this business currently.
Honestly.
Here's the thing, though. When we say there's no money in America, when the Zone came along, they were willing to do a whole list of fights, and the Zone fights turning it down.
Well,
BOK Prime, sorry, Steve. BOK Prime, they recently offered to give Errol Spence a bag load of money to fight Crawford to get the fight done, and they didn't get it done. So the markets like have messed themselves up over there, and actually just gave a business to the Saudis. But
it's interesting. The way the current business is structured, fighters are getting paid a lot of money by promoters, not for the quality of fights or their actual value. They're getting signed up for exclusivity. So if a fighter signs on Top Rank, there's already an explicit agreement or an understanding, if you have a good manager, that, okay, I can't fight these three guys because they're on Showtime. Can't fight them because they're on the Zone. The guys right here at ESPN and Top Rank, those are the guys that I could fight. And that's for the freedom that I don't have, they're probably going to overpay me by 25 to 30%. That is the problem is it distorts the market.
Steve, let's also say this. Look, Bozy Ennis himself admitted this. Bozy Ennis himself, that Black Prime reached out. They don't have a contract with Showtime. You claimed that you wanted Terrence Crawford. That's what Black Prime reached out to you about. And you told Spencer Fearon and Tunde Ayahi on the Stamina for Sale podcast, good podcast here on YouTube, you told them, oh, I'm loyal to Showtime. All right then. Now, we are 5 months into this year. We're 5 months in. No fight news. Nothing, No.
I completely push back. Go to Boots Ennis's Twitter. He's got a big announcement coming soon. Take that back, Jules. Take that back.
He's been having big announcements coming soon on repeat. He's been copying and pasting the same thing.
No, fellas. He has the tweets in the draft. Steve, is it safe to say that? Is it safe to say that Boots Ennis is this era's Demetrius Andrade already?
Well, oh God, I hope not.
He is, Steve.
Oh my God, Boots Andrade.
He is.
Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me of that old commercial. Guys, I got some great news. What's that? I just saved the load on my car insurance. Remember that from Geico? But anyway, here's the thing that gets me about. I want to go to the Zone real fast, guys. I joked about this yesterday. With the signings of Andy Cruz and Really Regis program, when does the Zone subscription go up to $300 per year?
Soon.
I mean, there is a visceral anger that I sense on Twitter when I put up anything about the Zone. And it's amazing how a lot of these media members will not talk about it.
They're paid not to, Steve. You know it as much as I do.
I'm just like, guys, here's the thing. If you read my archives, you will see I have been very complimentary of the Zone on a lot of different things. I've covered a lot of their fights. I like a lot of their people. I get along with just about everybody. But I am not afraid to say where they botched it. They had two corporate suits and John Skipper and Joe Markowski who don't know a left hook from a fish hook. It's a total under delivering on an over promise I've ever seen. And for them to have the nerve to do pay-per-view on certain fights where they said pay-per-view is dead, our job as the media is to call them out. And some of these guys are just absolutely gutless.
Listen, I'm going to tell you the truth, Steve. I get where people are coming from when you start out saying that pay-per-view is dead and that changes, that the model changes. I do get that. But I'm also a consumer first, and I talked about this yesterday, that when you think about it, a monthly DAZN, an annual DAZN subscription may seem expensive, far more expensive than a Showtime annual subscription. But when you tack on all the pay-per-views on Showtime, there have already been 3, all right? Then you see that, no, actually watching boxing on Showtime is tenfold more expensive than DAZN.
Julius,
wait. But I'm not done. Wait. I'm not done. Now, I'm saying the only guy that's consistently on pay-per-view on DAZN is Canelo in America. As a consumer, I know that because I pay for this shit. I know. All the other stuff that I get, Cordina Rakimov, just all the fights, all the shit, all the good stuff, that's not pay-per-view. But with Showtime, less and less is part of the regular subscription, and more is box office. So when I give you that $120 for an annual subscription, you're giving me $80. I had to pay 2 times $80, let's say, in the first quarter, 2 times again in the second quarter, 2 times again in the third quarter, 2 more times in the fourth quarter. Before you know it, watching boxing on Showtime will run you about $1,000 a year.
I had this argument, not to butt in, but I had this argument yesterday. Somebody posted something in Instagram about how DAZN was making people pay and how it was bullshit and they're canceling their subscription and so forth. I went back the last 2 years and there have been 7 and there have been 8. Last year and the year before, pay-per-views that cost you at least $80, not counting the $10 or $11 you had to pay a year. So I pushed back on these guys and I said, with all due respect, you're paying 40% more for Showtime in the pay-per-views while you sit here and complain about all the fights that you get on the DAZN. So with all due respect, the DAZN is cheaper.
Villain,
I don't believe Villain.
Wait. I'm going to put my echo on. Villain, I'm going to tell you why that is. Because you're talking to people that are not paying. If they were, they wouldn't be saying that. The reason they're saying that is because they're just stealing shit. That's it.
You're not paying for it, but I was making my point. My point is you would actually have to pay for the DAZN. You're unwilling to pay for Showtime, so you're willing to steal these fights. So what you're really doing is you're pointing the finger at people when yourself you're a hypocrite.
Listen, you're sitting around moaning about Canelo versus Ryder, but you're okay with Ruiz versus Areola, Ortiz versus Charles Martin on pay-per-view.
Wilder versus Millennius.
Julia,
and we're gonna get Danny Garcia versus Lara for the 156-pound Canelo.
That's $80. Go ahead, Lennox.
All right, Les, I love the intellectual dishonesty about how pay-per-view came to DAZN. Everyone forgets that it was Showtime that caused pay-per-view to come to DAZN. Everyone forgets that it was brought in because they had to be financially competitive with after Canelo got out of his contract with Golden Boy. Right, everyone forgets that pay-per-view was brought on as a necessity to be able to keep the fighters that you want to see on a certain platform. If Canelo had not gone through that whole thing and Showtime had not overpaid for the plant this thing, there would be no pay-per-view on DAZN. People forget that happened right in front of everyone's face. Well, everyone likes to be intellectually dishonest. And yeah, you know what, for the most part is people who are not paying. And what I will say for DAZN is I travel internationally, and it is the only way to consume boxing internationally. The ESPN app is shite outside of the US. I'm in England, can't watch it. In Nigeria, can't watch it. Ghana, South Africa, Japan, can't watch shite on ESPN. All right, Showtime, same thing, geo-blocked. So you know what happens on my mobile? As long as I'm international roaming, I can watch DAZN anyway. So let's not be intellectually dishonest about why.
Listen, wait, let me tell you, I'm not intellectually dishonest. I know that. The people that are intellectually dishonest, for starters, and the reason that I don't argue with them anymore on Twitter is because I'm not talking to consumers like myself. I am talking to scum, and I would be talking to thieves. I don't need to have a product review from a thief. What you are to me is tantamount to a pocketbook thief, Okay, your opinion on value for money doesn't matter because you don't spend it. I do, and I'm telling you that $225 something, whatever, right, for the year. No, that's good because the only guy that's on pay-per-view, at least from where I'm sitting, is Canelo. That's it.
And by the way, guys, ESPN Plus, they also promised we're done with pay-per-view. And Joe Tessitore, my guy, said it a lot during this. The first several months of ESPN Plus, they said it's a new model, no more pay-per-view. And who could forget for PBC? I'm going to dust this one off. It's free!
And I was listening to this last couple of these earnings call. Bob Iger is going to make it an emphasis. ESPN is going to focus more on the plus in the next coming years. And that price is supposed to triple.
By the time he leaves. And I like Top Rank. Look, I'm going to be honest. Top Rank has done a fairly decent job of keeping what are very solid matchups off pay-per-view. And I look at it as an earnest effort. We didn't have to pay pay-per-view for Haney versus Kambosos. Just a lot of fights that are good fights that, if it were the PBC, it would be on pay-per-view. Like a fight like Stevenson versus Valdez. Oh, they would have made that a pay-per-view. We got that on the plus. No pay-per-view. And I'm okay with Haney versus Lomachenko being a pay-per-view because, like I said, they don't bombard me with pay-per-views every other month. So I'm okay with what they're doing so far. I'm okay with
the reality is pay-per-view is a necessary evil because it could bring two entities that do not work together. It can give them a common ground to make money together. And
so, Steve,
a lot like, for instance, if Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis did not have a pay-per-view option, that fight would have never happened.
Okay.
I wish it had.
So Steve, I wanted to ask you this question. Since you said that, I wanted to segue into this question. Being that we got to see a co-production between the Zone and Showtime for Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis, is it possible that we could have in the fall Canelo versus Benavidez in case the Canelo and Bivol talks fall through the cracks?
I think it's possible. Again, it'd be interesting to see if Canelo really wants to face a young, hungry lion like a Benavidez. But I think that fight could be done for one reason. It's commercially successful. I think there's actual potential for it. We have to be honest. The B-ball fight does not bring the same amount of buys. It doesn't. So remember, pay-per-view is about business. Can you actually make money at it? At that level. One of the reasons why Golden Boy and the PBC actually did the Tank Gervonta Davis fight is beyond the fact both fighters were really calling for it, and I think Ryan Garcia just wanted to kind of cash out, force Golden Boy's hand, is that there's actually money to be made, and they did a great job on that. The interesting thing is with Benavidez, I did not understand his father coming out so soon saying, well, we have a 3-fight package with PBC. That made no sense to me.
Hey, Steve, I got a quick question.
When you get a chance, can I jump in?
Speaking of numbers, one at a time, please.
Speaking of numbers, go ahead, man.
All right, now what I was going to tell Steve is that I think the reason that he did that, Steve, is because it's never been their intention to fight Canelo. That's always been my theory. It was their intention to use his name and use that as a marketing angle, but they never actually thought that they would get the fight. So they operated on the assumption that they wouldn't, which is why he comes out and says, well, we signed a 3-fight deal, and we fighting David Morrell. And that's what that is.
Like I said, Steve, it's the name association. They attach their name to Canelo, Wilder attaches his name to Joshua, and Leonard Ellerbe attaches his name to Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, can I hop in here? Can I hop in real quick?
Good.
Yeah, all right. So let's break this down. Yeah, so Garcia had to give up a lot to Showtime for that to happen. That was not really a co-production, right? From the broadcast production end of it, I can tell you that was really gone. That's really why I think personally most of his teams have "fuck you, dickhead" at the end of the fight, because that wasn't a proper co-promotion. Yeah, and especially being that budget-wise, he basically came from the end with more money in the kitty for that situation. So the question is really, and I know I on the broadcast end of it, I could tell who's got more P's and who doesn't. Yeah, I know for a fact that if Showtime's got an exclusive on Benavidez, they're not letting him cross the street as a B-side. Understand?
They never really have.
They're not letting you cross the street as a B-side. And then,
well, guess what?
and then
He's
also, hang
going
on,
down with the
let
sinking
me
ship.
land. They're
Go
not
ahead,
letting you
bro.
cross as a B-side. And then, all right, if that's not happening, you got to look at the budget. Yeah, do you lot have the P's right to drop probably more than you did for the plant fight to get Canelo over there? Because Canelo is not really, he doesn't really rate you, man. He doesn't rate you. So do you have the P's, yeah, to get Canelo over there? He's the financial A side, whatever you want to call it, and he's not really waiting to this thing, right? Do you have the P's to get Canelo over there? Because the only way that happens is you got to send Benavidez over. And right now, with the network situation and the restructuring, you lot don't have the budget to overpay Canelo. You know what I mean?
Let me simplify, Lennox. Let me simplify it. Samson already said he will not send David to the zone, but you don't have the money to pay Canelo. So what does that mean? You've been bullshitting all this time. You don't have the money to pay Canelo, but you won't send David.
I got a question for Steve real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, speaking of numbers, how much numbers do you think Canelo Ryder did?
I would be surprised if it did more than 400,000. I would. Again, that's just a guesstimation. I think there was a lot of backlash, even with the reduced price for the zone subscribers. You know, a lot of the success of a pay-per-view, people do not realize it's not really the quality of the fight. Are both guys known? I remember one time Bob Arum told me, he goes, you got to understand, pay-per-view is about stars. That's why every pay-per-view franchise, from De La Hoya, Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, there was a fluctuation based on the opponent. It's not like these guys always did 500,000 or 1 million buys just because of their own name. This is not like a Janet Jackson or a Celine Dion concert. You've got to have that other name on the marquee has to matter. And as solid as John Ryder is, and I certainly respected him, there really was no name recognition out here in North America. And that's going to be a major issue when they add up the buys.
I have a question for Steve.
Yes.
How do you think it's going to affect the pay-per-view ratios from now on after the debacle from the Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight? Because the son, for all I've been hearing, he fucked up.
Yeah, you know, there were certainly a lot of issues with that. I know a lot of people that tried to get the zone version of it, and they tried 9 different times, and they were billed 9, and they didn't get it. I'm actually surprised there has not been an announcement of a class action lawsuit. But maybe they worked it out as long as the people get their money refunded. I don't think it's an issue, but it's not a good look. I mean, part of what you become a loyal customer is you got to have trust. You have got to have trust and faith that business is going to do what's correct and have a competent system. And I think they failed. I got the sense that pay-per-view did really well on that night because people were having problems just buying it. And people do not understand that. Sometimes you're better off getting that pay-per-view the night before, but people that even got the pay-per-view early could not log on. And so I do think that consumer trust in the zone, based on what happened a couple of weeks ago, is going to be problematic.
Well, how is that problematic when all those issues came from when that was being ran by Showtime for the most part? They were just taking a feed from Showtime.
From a PR perspective, it is bad press. Don't get it twisted. From just a public relations perspective.
No. I get it. But I'm saying, I understand that. But what I'm saying is that they've done bad pay-per-views. They had issues on one pay-per-view that has one glaring fact that everyone seems to gloss over.
People are stupid, Lennox. You have to remember that.
But also, Lennox, it has nothing to do with Showtime when you can't even get an email response back to your customers in under 48 hours.
Here's the thing, though. Like, outside, like, okay, Steve is forecasting 400,000 buys. I think the trick Canelo missed here is the fight was originally supposed to be in England. I think, like, if they'd done that in the UK, Canelo could have done way more.
I agree with that.
Well, here's what it is. There's a lot of myopic worldviews going on here. Like, these men are worried about Canelo's worried about the Mexican market, and he done what he wants for that. And DAZN is a global platform with several markets, and they've got more of a worldview. Everyone here has been chatting about America, this America. I'm sorry, it's just not. That's not the way the world is.
Wait a minute. Don't hit me with that
Super Bowl.
bullshit. Nobody cares less about America than this guy. Nobody. Fuck America. Fuck it. The useless. I'm sorry. It's the truth. This is not the mecca of boxing. I've been saying it for 4 or 5 years now. It's not what it was. I came up in the Mayweather era. I came up in the Roy Jones Jr. era, the De La Hoya era. I know all of that. That's when shit was hot. This bullshit today is not that. Nobody cares less about the American fight fan than this guy. Fuck him. Not worth nothing. Just complain. Don't buy shit. Steal shit. Useless. Utterly fucking useless.
It's just like bricks. It's becoming a multipolar world in boxing. Get with it.
You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares less about the American market than I do because I've been saying it on repeat tonight. It's not that the Saudis swooped in and took something from us. It's that the money's not here anymore. And if the money's not here to do it, then it don't happen. It don't go down. So if Saudi can make these things happen that are not happening, great.
You know what? Partial proof of that is Benavidez plant numbers haven't even been revealed. I mean,
and they never will be. And
yeah,
why
are they afraid to show us the numbers?
Because they're dog shit.
Because it's indicative of the whole streaming industry right now. Every streaming platform is losing money. They're going to downsize. Subscribers to subscription retention is a problem. Profitability is a problem.
Piracy,
especially in the ad revenue department. That's why
I'm this close to unsubscribing from Showtime, because if the only decent fights that you put on are pay-per-views, then I don't need an annual subscription.
Whoa! You're gonna miss out on Rolly Romero against Ismael Barroso.
You're not gonna pay $11 a month.
Yeah,
$11
you're gonna no love for Steven Espinosa?
Listen, I'm not even joking. Like, I have a lot of different apps. I don't watch most of their programming. I'm usually either watching Amazon Prime or HBO Max if I'm not watching boxing. And what's on the regular, schedule is Rolly Romero. You think I'm gonna spend my Saturday night watching Rolly Romero? Really? No, bro, are you crazy? You crazy? Like, nah.
It is amazing to me when I see Rolly Romero do these interviews at these fights, and I'm like, you people really care about what he has to say? I mean, honestly, I'm like, the guy. I think he's one of the most skillless fighters. He's a heavy-handed guy. He's got good strength, but I'm just thinking to myself, this guy really is not that good at all.
Steve, you're forgetting that he's talking to the low IQ fan. So when low IQ people are going to follow low IQ boxers.
I think that's very racist of you, Steve. Very racist. And I'm gonna write a report to somebody about that.
The boxing glove on the end of the stick was when he jumped the shark for me. That was the end of it all, man.
I'm gonna say that. Look, this is why I don't care about the American fight fan. Rolly Romero. Only here in this fucked up market does this guy get a microphone put in front. Like, why are you putting a microphone in front of this guy? He's an idiot.
The people listening to him are morons.
I know they're morons, but that's the point. That's the point that I'm making, that we've reached the point where a Rolly Romero is fighting for a title? What the hell happened?
Put that on pay-per-view.
They're not going to give him the winner to Matias.
And that's the other thing, that the way that PBC is doing these fights, they're not about anything. Like with Top Rank, there is a sense of direction. With Matchroom, there is a sense of direction that, this is all going somewhere. We're not just making fights for the sake of making fights. There is an end game. Rolly's getting a title to do what? Oh, so you could make a Davis rematch? Because I really want to see that.
Okay, and I'll tell you this. Remember how everybody was saying BBC had a 2-year grace period? And I said, it's contingent on every quarterly report. And if you notice how their quarterly report came out last week, they cut the dividends by 80%. The stock tanked about 30%. And that's why you don't see no Charlo fight announced for June. No fights for June announced.
Steve, let's just call a spade a spade. He's not fighting in June, is he?
Well, wait a minute. We're not going to do that now. Traditional Juneteenth date? What?
No.
More people celebrate Cinco de Mayo than Juneteenth in this country. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. Is he gonna fight or no?
I don't. I mean, look, we're already into mid-May now. This is the second week of May, starting tomorrow. God, that is amazing how the Charlos. Do you know that next week, with the second week of May, if I'm not mistaken, that'll mark the 1-year anniversary of Jermell Charlo's last fight? Because didn't he fight May 14th of last year against the rematch with Brian Castano?
And Steve, that was the last time there was 2 main event fighters on Showtime that made 7 figures.
And look, you can see that it's because they don't have the budget, because the metrics for that fight were actually really good. They were close to 1 million. It was like 800,000 people or something like that watched that fight on regular Showtime. And yet, for some reason, they didn't get him out.
Well, Jules, think about this. I believe Tim Zoo's management realized they made a mistake last year after the Terrell Gaucher fight when they were forced they said, after Carlo backed out or got injured from the late January date, you saw what happened. His management said, no. We're going to keep this date. Give us Harrison. And now they're already talking about another summer fight. They smartened up.
Listen, because Tim Tszyu used to be inactive up until the moment that he inked that deal with the PBC. He was one of the most active 154s around. He was regularly fighting all through 2020, 2021. He was fighting. He inks this deal with the PBC. He's down to 1 fight for the whole year. And it's because he's waiting on Jermell. Let's get it straight. It's because he was waiting on Jermell. This year they realized, nah, we're not doing that fucking bullshit again. We're going to fight. Fuck it. If we got to fight Harrison, fuck it. And now they're shopping themselves around for an opponent. You know, I think they wanted Liam Smith. I saw an article about that, but Liam's fighting Chris again, so it is what it is. I say they bring Kurbanov over. Bring Kurbanov down to Australia, beat the fuck out of that guy.
I thought he showed that type of fight he had against Harrison. He got good quality work in, learned how to finish off a slick professional boxer, and the worst thing he could have done is once again wait for Charlo, because you may not fight again the rest of the year. I'm just going to say this to you guys right now. If Tim is able to get another fight in the summer and get some good, solid work in again, that gap between him and Jermell, I think, is now very, very close.
I'm going to say this, Steve. I don't think Jermell is going to fight him. It makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't. Not for Jermell.
And you know what's going to happen? Those fans are going to
vacate.
Those fans are going to demand that Jermell move up on your pound-for-pound list. I can see this happening.
And this is how I know Jermell's not going to take that fight. That fight is worth a shit ton of money in Australia.
Yeah. This is look. You know what I've said, Drew. You do it in Australia. If you're Jermell, you should do it in Australia. Why? That fight don't mean nothing here, bro. It don't. But to them, you could probably sell out Marvel Stadium with that fight. And because you're the champion, the traveling champion, you can demand a sizable purse.
Here's the reality. Tim Tszyu has a much higher ceiling than Kambosos, and Jermell is not as slick, or he does not have the talent advantage that Devin Haney did in going down under. That's
Steve,
the reality.
that fight isn't, Steve, it's not going to happen. I've been saying it for a few months now. They're not going to fight. What I believe is going to happen, he's going to be forced by the WBO, who are going to get impatient later on this year, to vacate that title. Tim will get that title. Jermell will move up. He will move up, and perhaps he has a tune-up, and then he fights Carlos Adames for what was his brother's WBC title, because I believe that Jermell will eventually go to 68 if he ever gets it together. I don't think he's going to stay at 60. Not that he's doing anything, because he isn't. It's like I just think all these guys are heading north. And Tim Tszyu versus Jermell Charlo, that shit is not going to happen, I don't think.
Yeah, but where's the money going to come? Where's the money going to come for these fights?
Well, if Tim wins a belt, the money's in Australia. He'll be a good draw over there.
Minus Tim, like Joe's scenario of all these guys moving up. Who's going to pay for those fights?
Listen, let me tell you something. Mendoza just beat Sebastian Fundoria, right? Now, if you're Tim Tszyu, you can get Mendoza to go to Australia. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful setup now. That if Sebastian isn't going to run it back with Mendoza, that frees up Mendoza. That frees him. Like, hey, you want to make some money? Come to Australia. Let's get it on. And then maybe Tim can become a dual mandatory the way that Daniel Roman was a dual mandatory last year. He was the mandatory by way of 2 sanctioning bodies. So if you're Tim, that gives you an out to eventually pick up 2 alphabet titles. That it's a good time at 154, believe it or not. Even though Jamal's not active, it's a good time because the division is about to change and fights are going to start to happen again because this is ridiculous. You have all the belts. You haven't fought in close to a year already. That's ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, I see them.
Jules,
I see. Go ahead, man.
Jules, I wanted to mention this about the Saudi Arabia thing. One last thing here before I log off. One of the things that's really interesting is that once a fighter makes a certain plateau of money, whether it's from oil money or whether it's from a casino money or the live gate or whatever, pay-per-view, most fighters, modern day fighters, have a hard time understanding different fights have different values based on a lot of different factors. You start paying these guys $40, $50, $100 million, negotiating with them becomes very difficult moving forward. We are now risking that dynamic becoming more and more regular. I've heard that Tyson Fury has become almost impossible in a lot of different ways. So keep that in mind. It's just going to Saudi Arabia or the Middle East is not just this panacea that's going to magically make a lot of fights.
No,
Steve,
but
Steve,
I will
got a
say,
question. So I got a question just real quick before you take off. Sorry, I didn't interrupt. I may not have been here when you guys were talking before. I came on later. Have you heard anything about Crawford Spence? I know it's beaten to death. But
Yeah, I mean, we kind of did talk about it. Looks like Saudi Arabia is throwing their hat into play. Now, I have been told that they were working on July. And I hope for Ring Magazine's sake that it does happen in July, or they should just never break another story. And I love those guys. I work with them. But look, this is about the money. If both guys can make 3.5 times or 2 times what they can in July at a casino or a stadium in the United States compared to like just waiting till December, this is about the money. Larry Merchant once taught me, he goes, Steve, they always go where the money is. Our guy Drew here talked to someone who's pretty high up at the Saudi Arabia sports thing that they do. They are working on it. We've all heard the rumors. I don't know how much traction it would gain with the American public. But I think they're still working on it. Just keep this in mind. When Alexis Rocha elected not to do his mandatory, now he's fighting Anthony Young later this month. That was a clear tell that Crawford did not like the deal that was being offered by Golden Boy for that mandatory. I had been told that he was expecting another payout like with Black Prime. Well, he had to come back down to earth. He didn't like what was going on there. And at that point, he said, I'm going to forget the mandatory. I better get to Spence because now that becomes a unification, which trumps a mandatory. So in my view, Crawford's on the spot now to make the fight because you now have basically said, I have to do the fight with Spence. And I also think one last thing, guys, it may already be spoiled milk. If this fight doesn't happen by 2023, I think at this point, I think all of us would rather watch Ali Frazier 4 than Crawford Spence 1.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch Clarissa Shields talk about her breakup.
Let's not go that far. Let's not go that far.
Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Family shit. Listen. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm slightly clairvoyant. It is gonna happen. The only detail I can't work out is who the broadcast partner is gonna be, but I'm gonna assume it's Showtime because, it just seems like, well, yeah, it would be them, wouldn't it? It would have to be Showtime.
Not for the guarantees that these guys want, though, Jules.
No. That where are you gonna see the fight in America? I'm gonna assume, okay, if you're in America, you're gonna see it on Showtime. If you're somewhere else, then you're going to see it somewhere else. But in America, you're going to see it on Showtime if they do it. That's what I'm thinking,
Oh, by the way, guys, before I leave here, and Drew, keep your Wednesday night open.
It's clear.
The 3 knockdown rule will be back very soon, guys. We've already come up with we're going to be filming our first return show May 15th.
Let's go. Steve, the quiet is kept Jules. Steve was holding out for that back end money. He wanted an 80-20 split his way.
Money, bro. It's all about the back end money, popcorn money, hot dog money, T-shirt money. It's what's all about.
So we'll be back, and the plan is to have it a weekly show. We had to work out some details, and I I plan to come out firing. I'm not holding back. I care less than ever, and I just
that's when it's the best, bro.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, I think there's just too many people that care about access and keeping relationships instead of just telling the truth. I see some of these things, and again, I know I've become that old guy that tells everyone to get the hell off the lawn, or the two old guys on the Muppets, Statler and Waldorf. Those guys were hilarious, by the way.
Here's what's going on. You're becoming our Larry Merchant, Steve, right before our eyes.
No. Is that good or bad?
And that's a good thing.
It's needed because it's just like you said, like it's all about access now. It's just a lot of ass licking, a lot of dishonesty, and a lot of bullshit. When I think look, the approach for media now has to be from the consumer perspective, because that's the most honest perspective. That look, if you want my money, we need certain shit to happen.
Well, another thing is, look, I do not let my relationships really affect what I say. And some of my best relationships are people that I have criticized, and I have more respect for them. But it's like I look at this situation, like, let me give you an example. The treatment of Ryan Garcia after this last fight.
Oh, it was horrible.
So many of these media members are so afraid to actually say what they really feel because they don't want that kid to say, well, I'm not going to interview with you. Well, I've already decided, well, Ryan, I never really want to interview with you. So we're good because we've had all this. I tell this to Mario all the time. Mario, we are never going to pander to get a guest. I don't care if it's your good buddy Oscar De La Hoya or one of the fighters you like, because if you bring on a guest that I don't like and you do it without our both consent, I'm going to make that interview so uncomfortable that guy's going to say, why'd you bring me on? So just be careful, Mario, before you bring someone on. We better have an agreement.
If we can't be honest, then what's the point? You know, if we can't be honest and we can't say what we're thinking, then what's the fucking point? You know, you know that I've said that many times, Steve, that the reason that I don't do more Q&As or more interviews, I don't want to lick anybody's ass.
Yeah,
so
and
I actually
Jules,
want to talk to some of these guys.
And Jules, you're absolutely right. You have to understand, once you start interviewing anybody more than 2, 3, 4, 5 times, that changes the relationship in a sense that, oh, Jules, that's one of our guys. We can count on him. And then the minute you say one negative thing after 1,000 positive things, you're the bad guy.
Look, the only Q&As that I do are people that I'm very much a fan of, and I never say a negative word about. But I already made that decision before I talked to them. And there's, somebody asked me, well, why don't you try to get Bill Haney? I don't want Bill Haney. I don't have nothing to ask you, bro. Why don't you try to get Lopez? I don't have nothing. I don't want you.
I mean, at the end of the day, I thought it was so funny that there was the group of fighters who are like just defending Ryan Garcia on whether he quit or not. And I just love the fact that a lot of big name Hall of Fame fighters, oh yeah, he quit like a dog. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, it was great.
Bro. Carl Froch, Tim Bradley, Andy Ruiz,
Julio Cesar Chavez Sr.
Senior, like call it what it is. Because there's people, they act like it's sacrilegious to say that the guy quit. But what really drove it home is, listen, it's not the fans. Chavez thinks he quit.
Right.
Andy Ruiz thinks he quit. A lot of people think he quit. It's not just the fans.
I think to me the issue is that this thing has become so much about hits and going viral that a lot of these media members, if they don't get the interview or the sit down or an in-studio visit from a particular individual, that impacts their numbers and eventually impacts their money. So I've always said this, the guys that are really good at this, like Coach Malachi, and obviously you, Ring, BDA Boxing, who just don't give it in. You guys have to be the reason why the show works. It can never be about the guest. You have to be the attraction.
I literally said that, bro. I said that, look, I don't need, I enjoy being able to do that. That's just very cool for me as a fan that I get to talk to some of the fighters. But the main attraction for me are the jokes. Reading the stories, telling the jokes, and having fun as a consumer.
Well,
it's not guests, it's the jokes.
You know what's funny, Jules? I've always said this, and people ask me, man, don't you wish this or that would happen? And I say, I don't really care anymore. I really don't. And the thing is, my philosophy is this: as someone who writes a bi-weekly column for snack.com and does other things, and my focus now is a little bit more towards general stuff as I do the stuff with Jason Whitlock and Fearless. But we have to, in my view, we are like chefs. So whatever ingredients we get, whether it's a bad fight, good fight, awful fight, a fight doesn't happen, a guy gets injured, no, our job is to take those ingredients and serve up a meal to be entertaining and informative and to be honest. So
100%. 100%, man.
You know, Steve, I have an exercise that I'll look at a crappy fight, a horrible fight that I don't care about, and I'll do a segment on it, like Danny Garcia versus Erislandy Lara, for example, because I'm going to have so much fun trashing it that it'll be good.
That fight should be called Punchlines, because there's going to be 1,000 of them. I mean, I think it's hilarious. And it's so funny because like I'm honest about this. Like when I did my movie reviews for Creed 3 with Jason Will, I thought it was the worst sack of crap I've ever seen. I want my 2 hours back and my money and my parking and my gas. Worst thing ever. Now, the George Foreman movie, guess what? I actually liked it. But I think too many people, because they want to be invited to every movie premiere, they'll tell you Creed 3 was good. Meanwhile, Jose Benavidez is the Mexican heavyweight champion of the world. How the hell are we supposed to take that shit seriously?
Listen. I tried with Creed, Steve, and I really did. In the first one, I think he's a light heavyweight. They put him in there with the Serbian guy in the second. Like, how are these two guys in the same weight class? There's no fucking way, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I can't take this shit seriously. Okay, I don't know what the fuck this. I haven't seen Creed 3. I haven't seen it. The idea that you get out of jail and your first fight is a title shot. Yeah.
And by the way, it's like what's interesting is like you have to be willing to be honest. Like I've ripped Top Rank a lot for certain things, and ESPN, the fact that they do boxing way after dark. It's the only sport in America that says, "Hey, our best stuff, we're going to show it to you at 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's grow that audience."
Yeah. They think that they're going to grow. They think they're going to grow a night audience.
Sly Stallone was saying there's going to be a Rocky 7 and that it was better than Creed 3.
You know, I know for a fact Sylvester was not on board with Creed 3, and we all saw what happened. And by the way, Jaime Munguia used to be one of my favorite fighters. I was one of the first people driving that bandwagon. I'm now his biggest critic. You know why? Because things done change, and I have at least a modicum of ethics to say this is shit.
And the same thing for we were on the Teofimo Express, Steve.
Oh, we got off of that. I sprained my ankle jumping off of that.
Listen, I've been regularly critical. Drew knows I've been critical of Teofimo since fucking the beginning of 2021 when all this prima donna shit started. You know, and from it's just like Steve said that. Look, you got to have fun with the stories, man. You got to chef it up. All the stories. You can't rely on access, especially because then you're never going to be honest, and then you just end up pandering for access for these. It's like, nah, son. Like, I'm going to have fun with the shit. If I think the shit sucks, the shit sucks. If it don't suck, it don't suck. But I ain't going to be out here licking no ass. I ain't going to do that.
I was told this by Larry Merchant years ago, and I still spend time with Larry. I talk to him at least a couple times a week. He said, Steve, this is not a popularity contest. And if you are not pissing off somebody once in a while, you probably are not being honest. And that is the truth. And there have been fighters that do not like me, that have liked me, that don't like me, then suddenly do like me. There are people in the business that think, hey, like Steve's with us until I'm not. And that becomes an issue. But what I have found out as my focus goes away from boxing and into more general stuff, it actually gives me a little bit more power in one sense. I don't even really need to go to any of these press conferences. I don't really need your access. Now, I just find myself being a commentator and a columnist. I can literally just watch a fight. I don't even have to be there and just say, okay, these are the 10 things I think, whether you like them or not, here you go. One of the reasons why what's really interesting is like treatment of the media. I was spoiled in a sense, Jules and Drew and everybody. When I first got on the beat, the press row seats were literally ringside.
Yeah.
Now more and more they're putting us in the bleachers, and I'm like, I was better off staying at home. So that perk is gone.
You know, people ask me when am I going to start attending fights, and I just keep thinking to myself that's not cost feasible. Now, if I get endorsed or sponsored by somebody, sure, I would love to go to an event, but right now that's not cost feasible, and it's not even necessary. I got the best seat in the house. I can sit here and fart up a storm and eat burgers and pizza and see the same fucking fight you watching. All right, same fucking fight.
Jules, and as long as you know how to cut and paste and copy, they send you the quotes on a press release. I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
It's amazing. It's fucking amazing. So the way things are now, you know, and I don't knock anybody's hustle. I get it that based on how certain channels are structured or how certain media is, they do have to rely on those relationships. And I'm not unsympathetic. I get it. It's just that I could never do that because for me, the fun is being honest. If I can't be honest, it's not fun. What's the point?
There is no point.
I mean, I pride myself on being honest. I remember telling Tom Loeffler, and there are witnesses to this. So after that Golovkin-Canelo sparring session last September, we're at the lobby bar. This is about an hour after the fight. I'm with a couple of fans. Drew, you know who they are. And Tom Loeffler, hey, Steve, how you doing? I said, Tom, can you do me a favor? He goes, what's that, Steve? And I go, get Golovkin to retire. That was embarrassing tonight. And he didn't disagree. You have to, I mean, to me, the problem with the media nowadays is that there's almost like this part where if you're not waving the pom-poms, these guys are afraid of becoming quote unquote haters or this, and that. And you know what I say now when they say, Steve, you be hating. And you know what I say? My reply is very simple. Yeah. And
that's what I say.
Today's boxing journal, they become coddling these fighters, man. They become kind of like these YouTube content creators that are kind of biased, you know?
Yeah, like if somebody tells, you know what they say? You hate PBC. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so what? What are you going to do about it?
You know, like, and I told you in the 17-minute video that you just watched, I told you why. If you didn't listen, hey, motherfucker, hey, it is what it is, you know, but yeah, I do hate certain shit. Yes, you're right. I do like certain brands more than other brands, and that applies to boxing as well, because it applies to everything else in life, doesn't it? I'm sure there's certain cereals you prefer more than other cereals. I'm sure there are certain cars you prefer more than certain other cars. Certain girls more than certain other girls. It's like that with boxing. These are brands. Matchroom is a brand. Top Rank is a brand. PBC is a brand. And when I say that, look, I don't like this brand because every decent fight is put behind a paywall, I'm telling you why. If you choose not to process that shit, if that makes me a hater, then I'm a hater. So be it. So be it.
That's why I respect Tim Bradley so much, because I know certain people don't like him. They think he's too outspoken. He's actually said many things that go against the ESPN Top Rank agenda that I'm like, whoa, people may not like that on your side. And I completely respect the fact that he has the guts to say it, because every single major broadcast team now pushes an agenda. It is so obvious.
I'll tell you who was honest. I'll tell you who was very honest. The DAZN commentary team, when Sullivan took it on himself to do the VAR move after the knockdown with Batista and Martinez. Like Mannix asks, would he have done that if Batista would knock down Martinez? That was honest, you know?
Yeah, the days of Larry Merchant are really over, though. Larry told me years ago, this was during the 80s, that the president of HBO, who was a highly influential man at the time, his name was Seth Abraham, the unofficial commissioner of boxing at that point.
I remember that guy.
He actually said to Larry, I just want you to know some of the stuff you say really makes my job harder. Don't ever change.
Corporate.
Could you imagine Steven Espinoza telling his guys, hey, be so honest, it makes he wouldn't do it. Wouldn't be allowed.
You'd be like the time he told Floyd to kick his ass when he was a few years younger.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest things. But I'm just telling you is that in my view, the thing that I like about being independent is you have a free reign to say what you want. There's so much pressure in corporate media in a lot of different ways. They not only try to really censor you, they try to indoctrinate you. I went through that at ESPN, and I said, I got to get the hell out of here. You're not doing this to me. I actually have options. I have some guts to try this on my own, and I've never regretted it. But it's really interesting that they not only try to guide your coverage, they try to change your beliefs. That's one of the issues that I had at ESPN from my boxing stories. I'm like, guys, I actually don't believe this. I really don't. You're not going to get me to write this, but there has to be an agenda that has to be fulfilled. And I think
because that's the landscape now. I mean, it's all about towing the company line now. And I'm like, look, and that's why I don't like. Sometimes people like to say that this channel is media. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm just a fan giving a consumer review because I'm not towing no line. All right, I'm just telling you what I think. I'm a fan with the channel. That's all. You know,
right.
I'm not mad that certain content creators have to maintain those professional relationships. I'm not a hater. I get it that you have to maintain access in order to turn over a profit. That's a big part of how, you know, oh, I'm not going to name any names, you know what I mean? But, you know, like, I get it. Like, and I understand, like, no, we all got to eat. We all got to make money. But I would never want it to be that way for myself because then, why would I do it?
You know, another thing I don't like is a lot of these journalists or media members, I truly believe that especially when they're on Twitter, they try to basically what I call gerrymander their opinion in a sense that they won't go full out and tell you what they really, really think 100% because they're afraid of too many people disagreeing with them or offending certain people. My view is this. I'm going to give you my opinion. I don't care if anyone agrees with it, but it's my honest opinion. I think a lot of guys give a dishonest opinion because they try to pander to certain groups. And you could see it. It's as clear as day. And that's the one thing where I've just said, I don't give a damn. Like, for instance, when I started linking up and became with Jason Whitlock, who's a very polarizing figure on Fearless, it is a conservative brand. That was not going to play well in the boxing sphere. You have to have some guts to say, you know what? I'm not going to be everyone's favorite. That is fine. I
say that all the time. Look, I don't go to people and volunteer opinions. When I'm on social media or I'm on Twitter, I've said it so many times. I'm not here to debate my opinion versus someone else's. I'm here for fast news, cheap laughs, and I occasionally use it as a scorecard, you know, like Twitter, for example. But if you think, for example, fighter A beats fighter B, bro, I'm not here to argue with you about what you think. And if you keep arguing, I'm just going to tell you, I don't give a fuck what you think. Why the fuck are you telling me what you think?
Shout out to Hot Boxing Jeff in the comments. We had a great time linking up in Guadalajara. Same way.
And everybody, Rachel's in the chat. Shout out to Rachel and
Shout out to Rachel.
Hey,
messages on the chat. I came up to say hi.
Jeff's TikTok. He's the star of the show. It's like we want to see the content creators, not a content creator kissing ass reporting.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the other thing that's really interesting is that, like, I think there are a lot of people out there that have certain feelings about Gervonta Davis that are afraid to say what they really think because they don't want to be branded as racist or prejudiced or you just be hating. And my view is this. I don't really care either way. You're allowed to have your feelings. You could say that he got railroaded or you could say that he got off easy. It's not going to really affect me, but I think a lot of people, adults, they try to be popular. I'm like, man, you should have gotten over this over high school.
Bro, I'm telling you, look, I say it all the time. I don't respect him. I don't like him. Every time you get locked up, it's always for some sucker shit. I'm not a rich kid. I don't come from the suburbs. I'm from fucking Harlem. You hate him. I don't give a shit, bro. Every time that kid is in some trouble, it's because he's doing something to a girl. No, I don't fucking respect you. You're not getting knocked. You're not getting knocked for duking it out outside. It ain't like you doing some Tyson Mitch Green shit. Everything with you is always some sucker shit. I don't give a fuck who thinks I'm a hater. I don't give a is hating him not allowed? Yeah, I don't fucking like him. He slammed into a car full of people. Why the fuck would I like him? What is there to like?
Listen, Jules, you're an objective hater. Let's get that clear. You be hating objectively. You're allowed to.
But it's funny that people can't like the fan base is really, really weird. Like they're diehard. It doesn't matter if they kill someone.
It's a parasocial relationship. That's what I see.
Yeah, they'll ignore everything just so they can prop their guy up. And if you bring it up to them,
let me say this. The whole thing with Gervonta is the poor kid story. That's the thing. I don't give a fuck about the poor kid story. Why? I am a poor kid, or I was. I don't care about that. I don't care about none of that shit. The fake trenches and all that. Bro, I don't care about none of that shit. What part of that is supposed to make it okay for you to hit girls? What part of that?
Nothing.
What part of that is supposed to make it okay for you to be on the road? See, it's motherfuckers like you that get people killed. And if you have people in your family or people that you know that died in accidents and shit like that, no, I don't give a fuck about Javante Davis. I don't give a fuck who he knocked out. He's a piece of shit. I was hoping they was gonna throw the book at him. If that makes me a hate, I don't give a fuck. You literally could have killed somebody, you little butterball. That's what you could have did. You shouldn't have been on the fucking road.
He left the pregnant lady in the car accident. He stared at him and he took off, and she was pregnant, and he left her laying there.
The better question I have is, why are you not a hater? I don't mean, I'm saying anybody who puts hands on women.
Because of the stupid pork. Because of the stupid pork. Like, bro, like
I don't give a shit. No one should give a shit. Money has nothing to do with class. Nothing.
These days, motherfuckers are scared to talk because they're gonna get like canceled or whatever. You know, and whatever, right? Look, bro, I don't come from no rich family. I am a first generation American. I was the poor kid. And I think you're a piece of shit. I don't like you. I was hoping that judge was going to throw the book at you. That's what I was hoping for. And I'm still hoping. You got 3 years of probation. You're a fuck up. I know you're going to fuck up because you're a piece of fucking shit. You're never in jail for no real shit. Only time you go to jail is for hitting girls. Only time you get in trouble is for some bitch shit. That's all I like. To me, I don't give a fuck. And I don't have strong opinions on a lot of fighters like that. But that little motherfucker? Oh, nah, I can't stand him.
Let me tell you something, right? You see the fan base, yeah? Like, you know what, like, they celebrate that you avoid jail time, like, for nearly killing people in a car crash and for beating up, like, that's not something to celebrate. And they're online doing it, man. Like, that shit's crazy, man. Like, and they can't see how they look. I mean, you look really ignorant, man. You look really
showing their ass. It's indignant. It's indignant. And that's the shit. It's indignant. What that is, look, the people that's doing that is other pieces of shit. I say it all the time. It's like, nah, if you look at the shit he do, and you a man, and you looking at all this sucker shit, like, bro, he's a sucker. What the fuck are we talking about? He is a sucker, all right? All you get locked up for is sucker shit. You a sucker. When he tweeted that shit at me on Twitter, I said, yo, I think I called him a butterball. Like, bro, I don't know who the fuck. I'm not a fan of you, bro. I don't fucking like you. Like, I don't like you. I don't care about none of this. Forget this boxing shit. You a piece of shit. You could have killed those people. That's just reality. Why the fuck would I be a fan of you? Because you were poor? So, a lot of people was poor, you know. A lot of people.
Is Gervonta Davis O.J. Simpson 2.0?
I believe so.
No, Leo. You know why? Leo, here's the thing. He's not, because when OJ was at his height, he said it, don't call me African American. Don't call me black. I'm American.
He said, I'm OJ.
I'm OJ.
So he's OJ. But
OJ didn't abide.
The idea that you were a fucking poor kid from Baltimore is not a pass for you to be a complete dredge of society. But that's essentially what it is. They say, oh, you could go to comments under shit and see what people. Oh, he's from the Trent. So fucking what? And I don't care.
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with putting hands on a woman? What does you not having money or growing up poor have to do with you assaulting women? Someone explain it to me. I just want to understand.
Okay, but I'm going to be the devil's advocate, guys. Like, you know, we had Tank that happened with him in Florida, and then like shortly after, who ended up, you know, slapping his wife in a club, and it kind of got brushed over by everybody. Like, it wasn't, not saying that they're comparative, but as far as in who was getting blamed, who was actually getting their feet held to the fire, one was being glossed over and being seen as the perfect father, and you know, it was just a one-time mistake, you know, and then it just got forgotten really quickly.
I
get it. Dana White.
Dana White.
Here's the thing. Dana White came out that day on TMZ and did an interview. He spoke on it.
At least he was accountable.
Listen, it's not even that. Like, you like, bro, if I say, Dana, you a piece of shit because you hit a lady, right? I don't get pushback. But if I say Javante Davis is a piece of shit because all he ever get in trouble for is hitting ladies, I get pushback. You a hater. You be hating. Why you hate? Because he fucking hits ladies, you fucking idiot. Because he drives without a license and almost gets people killed. What are you, a moron? Like, are you retarded? It's not hard to hate Javante Davis. I'm sorry.
All I got to say is this. What about Favre? Anyway. Anyway, guys, I got to sign out. I'm going to continue listening. Okay, guys? Really appreciate your time.
Bye,
Look,
Steve.
All right, Steve.
Have a good night,
Steve.
Later.
Like is this thing like is sacrilegious to hate the like nah fam
Not
like,
even that,
like,
Jules. That was a pregnant woman he hit and took off.
yeah, like you could have. My thing is like, look, if you know people that have died or shit like that, or if you're a motorist, you're always with your family. When I'm out, I'm with my family in my car. So the idea that some little sack of shit could be on the road, you shouldn't even have a fucking license, and you out here doing dumb shit and
He
leaving.
didn't have one. It was suspended.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
never had a license.
He never
right,
had
Jules?
a license.
I
And
thought it
that's
was suspended.
No, he's
Okay,
never
sorry.
had one in any of the states he's had accidents in. From the court case, from the court
they
documents.
said exactly. They said this is not his first rodeo. So the idea that that's going on, it's like, bro, how could I not hate him? He's a sack of shit. What?
Yeah, and he's a bad driver.
Terrible driver. So you know, man, I just feel like, yo, at the end of the day, I never wanted to be a guy that relies on access, interviews, or stuff like that to be able to create content, because it creates an environment where you have to pander, where you can't be yourself. Well, I'm like, nah, if it was gonna be like that, I wouldn't do it. I'm just having fun as a fan of the sport, and definitely a consumer, because I spend a lot of money on boxing, but I make a lot of money off of it, so it's cool.
Well,
You know
what
what I
I
mean?
have heard, Jules, is that there are a number of content creators that are actually on salary for some people.
I know.
And they've told people have told me, they're like, Rachel, they're going to come for you. They're going to ask you, they're going to try to put a price to make you stop saying the things that you're saying. And I was like, there is no price. You can't buy like what I say. I do it by, just based on pure passion and truth of the sport. So they can throw whatever money they think that they can throw. It doesn't matter to me.
It's been going on for a few, I'm going to say that's been going on for years. I've known about it, that certain promotional outfits reach out to the larger channels. My channel's not one of the larger ones, so I haven't been approached or anything like that, but I wouldn't do it because it's not fun. The fun is being honest. That's the fun. Like, yeah, you watch the fight, you like the fight, you don't like the fight, whatever. You like the fight, you don't like the fight, whatever. But I see a lot of these other channels, and I already know what's going on. You're getting paid, huh? So, and I don't knock that either. I don't, if somebody willing to offer you whatever they willing to offer you, for you to be another arm of promotion for an outfit or fighter, hey, make your money. Just don't get mad when I point that out. They're like, you got something going on to where this person can do no wrong. So they must be paying you, because that's all I see. Don't get mad at me when I point it out.
Yeah, you could tell too, though, when you look at some of these channels, like at one point they're on one side and then all of a sudden they're switching diehard, can't see have blinders on completely for, who they're promoting.
Exactly. And I could name names, but I'm like, for what? Look, get your money, do your thing, but being a shill, like I don't, whatever, bro.
So what's the reaction to Wilder and getting caught with a pistol and the herb in the whip?
See, this is the thing with Wilder's situation. Believe it or not, I don't like Wilder beats. You know that. Yeah. But I sympathize because that's not his town. That's not his town. Rappers regularly getting popped. That's reality, bro. That is reality. It's a madhouse out here, bro. Like, I'm literally really considering moving to Canada. It's and it's only gonna get worse. So if you tell me that Wilder wasn't in his town and he had the hammer, I'm going to say, one, it was dumb because you got enough money to get a bodyguard, though. You see what I mean? It was dumb, but I do understand because XX Tentacion got popped, Pop Smoke got popped, the PNC or PB&J or whatever his name is, he got popped. Motherfuckers is getting caught out here, bro. Motherfuckers is getting murked. So I dig it. I understand. But you a multi-millionaire. You can't get an armed detail? In Hollywood, you can't get an armed detail. You still a bonehead.
Oh, I got killed. Well, not killed. I got someone tried to come at me on one of the other channels because they were talking about it, and I was like, well, he is supposedly the guns registered to him in another state, right? And me and my dad were sitting around, and I was like, you can't just walk into another state. First of all, you're illegally moving firearms between state lines. Second of all, there is no reciprocal laws between California and that state he was from. And then third, I was like, if it's an unregistered firearm, you don't know how he acquired the gun, if it's been used somewhere. And I'm not saying he used it specifically. I'm saying that if let's just say his dad got it from his uncle, who got it from someone, and there's some ballistic footprint on that firearm, it will be traced back to him if it's not legally registered. So why, like, when you register these firearms to yourself, first of all, you're taking complete liability of that firearm, and without him doing so, creates a whole havoc of possible things that he can get himself into legally.
Yeah, he might catch a case just because he has the weapon on him, and even though he didn't do nothing,
Correct.
Yeah. Look, the way it is, look, like, I sympathize with Wilder's situation a little bit, Beats, just because things are going downhill. It was another mass shooting in Texas.
Oh, I heard about that.
There's another one. God took out 9 people. It's getting like, I honestly am very worried about this country, to be completely honest.
Have I said this before, that the last thing this country needs, like in a country full of guns, is hyperinflation?
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah.
It's not good. So if you tell me that Wilder, a public figure who's well known enough that he should be careful, that he feared for his safety to some degree, I do sympathize with that. They're like, yeah, I could see why, if you're not in your town, you might feel like you need the hammer. However, because you're a multimillionaire, which you are, an armed detail for a day or two shouldn't have, like you should have did that. Right now you looking like Plexico, who I brought up before that. Remember when the Giants won a Super Bowl? Right after that, Plexico.
Come on, man! Don't remind me.
Shot himself in the leg, and they gave him 2 years.
Could have made the playoffs that year. Oh my God,
Jules, the same argument though that you have to go with Earl Spence. Earl Spence has no excuse not to have an Uber, just like he's a multimillionaire. He doesn't need to drive a car. It's the same exact thing, and I'm agreeing with you, is that if you're Deontay Wilder and you're making $20 million in your last 3 fights, you don't have to carry a gun. You can have people walking around with you. You're making an excuse why you need a gun. You have no use or need to put yourself in that kind of trouble, put your family in trouble. So there is no excuse of what he did. He has the money. There is no excuse.
Yeah, there's no excuse. Like, if you're Errol Spence Jr., for example, you just fought in a quasi-successful pay-per-view that got you a multi-million-dollar payday. Why are you driving drunk? There's no scenario where I'm going to sympathize for somebody who gets behind the wheel under the influence, because you could kill someone.
If you can hold yourself to the same accountability, I am not a multimillionaire. If I want to drink alcohol and I'm going to be outside of my home, I will get an Uber. If I can afford it, then a multimillionaire can afford it.
Yeah, that's how I think of it. That's how, like, I wouldn't go to the joint and get saucy and then jump it. Like, nah, fam, I'm not even gonna go to the joint because I'm the one that's gonna have to drive back. So I would not do that. So you got multi-millions and you telling me that you couldn't get an Uber? Yeah, like, all right, you a dummy, fam. Like, I still put it in the dummy. Like, yeah, you a dummy, fam. You got money, but you still dumber than a motherfucker, man.
Yeah, in the case of Spence, I agree with you, Julius, but it's sad because don't you have any friends? Don't you have your homies? Because maybe you're wild and maybe you get drunk and do stupid shit. Don't you have people around you when you go to party to pull you out from some of these situations?
He has sycophants. See, I'm glad you brought that up. When I was younger, in my 20s, my mans in them, if I ever blacked out, if I was ever too saucy, they'll put me in a cab, get me upstairs. I'll be completely blacked out. Or, mixing dark and light liquor, whatever. When you young, you all was morons.
Yeah, you don't think,
You don't think. My mans in them will put me in a cab, take me up to the elevator to the crib, make sure I'm all right. Like, my mans in them. So I'm thinking, like, yo, you got M's. You don't even need a mans in them. Call a cab, fam. Nah, let me go flip this Ferrari.
It's about people really looking out for you and taking accountability. I mean, there's times that Well, Taco Tuesday is a prime example. I go out with my girlfriends for Taco Tuesday, and Nonito, he always asks me, "Are you going to drink?" And most of the time, I say yes. And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll just take an Uber going home." Sorry, Nonito's not going to let me take an Uber by myself to go home. And call it what you may, but my dad will come and pick me up. It sounds like a little high school thing, but he'll.
Your dad is your dad. No, I understand it. Your dad is your dad forever, right? And two, a drunk woman in an Uber, use your imagination.
Yep, that's why Nonito will allow it.
There was a story in New York about a bunch of police officers who escorted an inebriated woman back to her house in West Village. You can fill it.
Yeah, they went to town. I get it.
Several times that night. So yeah. You have to be careful. You literally. So I get dad coming over, and I completely understand, bro. I completely get it because dad is dad forever. You know what I mean? It's wild out here. You can't trust nothing. But that's also why I think of him as like, yo, you're not a child. You're not a guy who's in his early 20s. You're in your early 30s. You have children. And you just didn't put that. Maybe I shouldn't go to the club, Saucy. Maybe I shouldn't. Because I got kids at home and all of that. And we could do everybody makes mistakes. It take a couple of seconds to die. Take a couple of seconds to kill somebody. Over some dumb shit, you take a couple of seconds. Just like that. So when I hear about shit like that, especially car shit, it's like, bro, do you know how bad this could go? You realize? And then I think about the Butterball. I'm like, fam, this dude was on a road without a license, slamming into people, and y'all hit him with house arrest?
Dude, you don't even need to be driving the car to get in trouble. My friend's cousin was drunk, got in the car, passed out in the driver's seat, parked, but because the keys were in the ignition, DUI. No joke.
The thing is this, man. What I care about the most are the people that are out on the roads. If you want to be an alcoholic, you want to be a drunk, you want to fuck your life up, do it. But there are people out there who are innocent. One of my best friends recently died about a year ago. He was 25 years old. He was just graduated from Columbia Law School. He was driving down the road. A dude had 4 DUIs, decapitated him. So you know what? You should be worried about the people on the road. If you want to be a drunk, fine. Brother. But you got to worry about people out there who have a future and a life. That's what you have. You owe a debt to society to look out for each other.
Yeah, like a lot of the shit that goes on is a lot of silly shit. So look, just how that pertains to the Javante thing is like, I don't care that he's a poor kid from the ghetto. Like, what the fuck does that mean? I don't care about that shit. That shit is not a pass for you to be a fucking retard. I don't care about none of that. He's poor kid from Baltimore. I'm a poor kid from fucking Harlem. So fucking what?
Hey, yo, Polo's backstage.
Yeah, but I'm about to end live.
All right, then.
That whole shit is this weird shit in this day and age that like, you can't say, bro, I don't give a fuck what poor block you from. I don't care. What the fuck that mean to me? I don't give a shit. He's from the trenches. And not my trenches, motherfucker. I don't care. Piece of shit.
You know what concerns me is when people start saying things that you can't say, stuff like that. With all due respect, society's in because the truth is not spoken. So you have an obligation to say the truth. If a guy's a piece of shit for hitting women, you have an obligation to say that, to shame him. We have an obligation to shame drunk drivers.
He's some kind of fucking hero. It's like what fuck? Like I seen a motherfucker say that. I'm like, hero. Yeah. This piece of shit.
They attack this issue from a cultural standpoint, bro, and it gets in the way of their morality, man.
Well, if your culture is being a fucking dickhead and a fuck up, I don't give a fuck about that neither. Ain't no motherfucker on this earth could hit me with I ain't no suburban nothing, motherfucker. You act like being poor mean you could be a dickhead. It don't. I don't care. Like, you in the Twins. I don't care.
It ain't no free pass, man. It ain't a free pass.
This bum ass. Cause he's from the block. I don't care about your block. I don't care about him. I don't care about you. I don't care if he was poor. I don't care if mommy was on ride. I don't care about none of that bullshit. None of that is an excuse for you to be a grown ass man out here doing dumb shit. It ain't. The fuck you think? Fuck out of here, B.
Yeah, you gotta self-police that shit if you don't want it to be called by other communities. I'm just saying.
And the other shit is, it cannot be the rich guys or the middle class guys saying that. No, it gotta be the guys from the block, the poor kids like myself, because I don't come from money. The fuck you think? And I don't care about your poor kid story. We all got one, motherfucker. You kidding me? Poor, he's from Baltimore. I'm from Harlem. I don't care. Silly ass shit. Baltimore. So fucking what?
Yeah.
I'm an 80s baby. Crack era. Harlem, motherfucker. I don't care about Baltimore.
I'm crack era Broadwater Farm, Tottenham, bro. I'm poor too. You know what I mean? Probably
Yo, Beast, motherfucker, start talking. He was poor. So fucking what? I don't care.
The same old story, man.
Because he was poor. That chick, he can be a complete fuck up because he was poor. No, he can't.
Unless it doesn't come with class analysis, it's just a virtual signal.
Like, oh, I'm a retard because I was poor. Fuck out of here, B. If you don't want better, these is your idols? This silly motherfucker? Nah, fam. Never that. Never that. And I don't want to hear about, it's so bad in both. Bro, I'm literally from 80s Harlem, fam. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? This little bullshit over there, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? 9-6 when all them Bloods and them Crips came to New York from the West Coast. Yeah, I grew up in that, fam. I don't give a fuck, but silly ass shit. You gotta be kidding me, bro. He's a piece of shit. You never get locked up for no real shit. It's always some sucker shit. Like, bro, this dude is a sucker. It don't never be no real. At least Wilder got knocked for the hammer. You only get knocked when you hitting girls. It's the only time you get knocked. You hitting girls. Bro, why you ain't want to hit Lomachenko more than you want to hit them girls, you motherfucker? Fucking coward, bro. He's a fucking coward. Get the fuck out of here, B. Running from that little Ukrainian with them little ass shoulders. Running. Only get locked up for hitting girls and slamming in the cars.
But you can always say Gervonta Davis' level of opposition has always been consistent. Throughout.
Bad.
Yeah.
Jules, can I ask you a question before you end the live?
Go ahead.
So, who do you think is going to win between Maloney and Astrolabio? That's this weekend.
Have you checked Astrolabio, Julius?
I still haven't had the chance to see him, but I'm going to tell you what. I know Top Rank really likes Maloney.
Oh, yeah.
They really like the Maloney brothers. So if there's any possibility that the fight is close, he'll get the decision. I'm leaning towards Maloney.
I'm leaning towards Maloney, too.
I'm leaning towards. I don't think. Now, the one that's fighting Junto's going to smoke him. But the one
is that on the same card?
I believe it is, because both Maloney brothers are set to fight for a title. The Junto and Maloney card fight is for the BO, and I believe Junto's going to smoke him. He's big, he's strong, he's young. The power will carry up because it's his first fight at I believe at Superfly, and it is it Superfly or is it Fly for Junto?
Superfly.
Yeah, it's Superfly, and I think the power is going to carry because he was big for Fly, he was tall for Fly, so the power is going to carry. But the Astrolabio one, that one I'm leaning a little bit towards Maloney. That if he could make it close, they'll give it to him. Bob loves the Maloney brothers for some reason.
The thing about Maloney, he doesn't do anything really good, but also he doesn't do anything really bad. It's really balanced. He doesn't have that X factor, but you cannot point out something about Maloney that make you feel like, oh, okay, he's gonna.
I don't think either one is bad. I just like you said, I think they're both solid, and I do think they're both world class, but not upper echelon. They don't have the extra, but they are solid fighters, both of them. I seen one of them beat the crap out of Ashton Palikte. He beat the fuck out of him. You know, I give him some credit. Like they're good fighters. They're just not that extra. But yeah, you know, this was a fun live. We got to say a lot of curse words. Rachel, bring Nonito, come back on. You know, I do these live.
He's been listening. He's been listening to the whole time.
Tell Nonito we all said what's up.
Yeah, he's just resting for sparring. He has sparring in 15 minutes. We leave, so.
And the new, y'all already know my prediction. He gonna win that belt. Now I see y'all. I see y'all on the next one.
Everybody have a good night.